This is our commission, the start of our commission work meeting. We have Sean Wilkinson, Gary Meyer, and
Ashley Tillman.
Ashley Tolman, thanks Ashley. And Scott Jenkins here. The others will be in shortly. First topic we're talking about today is the speed reduction on 12th Street.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So the other day, when we had our open house, a couple weeks ago,
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
we had a conversation with some of the residents that live out there, particularly, it was Randy and Anna Giordano that live right on 12th Street that brought it up. And they said that they're seeing an increasing frequency of high speeds of vehicles out there. And I said, Randy, that's tough because speed, and we've covered this with them a little bit, speed is kind of an enforcement issue. And he says, I know it is. He says, I called the sheriff, and he says, to be honest with you, he says they're stretched just so thin, they just don't have a guy they can spare to send out there to do the enforcement.
So have you done a traffic study?
So that's what we wanted to kind of.
Last time you guys did a change without doing a traffic study, I had to go through
Correct.
the state to get you back in order. When they dropped the speed limit by
Yeah.
Up in
10.
Huntsville.
So why the hell do we even do that again?
Well, so that's the
That's why
question.
we're here. We're not proposing that, Commissioner.
Okay.
Yeah, we're-
Well, and you know as well as I do, that if we do a traffic study out there, it'll probably go up, not down.
Well,
That's
yeah,
the
well, that's what I'm saying.
That's
But
the
it has,
problem.
you
Yeah.
understand, the only course forward is a traffic study.
That's correct.
Until you have a traffic study, you shouldn't even be talking about
And
it.
just to be clear, I was not intentionally, I was not proposing we change the study, Commissioner.
Okay,
I wanted to bring this up with you guys to let you know there's some concerns amongst the residents that live out there.
okay.
The big recurring, I don't know if you'd want to call it violator, but the person kind of really at fault here is when they have a shift change out there. You get guys that are probably running a few minutes late from work, or guys that are in a hurry to get home, and you know,
Sure.
we've all been there, I get it, and they're real people with real life issues, and they're probably driving faster than they should. The question I had for you guys is this something, so let's put a pin in that portion of the discussion for just a second. Think about the potential for more traffic both on 1800 as that road ties into the 21st Street interchange. The high school, it's coming in out there on 4300 and 2200. And then the increased growth we're seeing on 2550 and 3300 as well. All these areas out here are kind of major east-west arterials, if you will. Is this something we want to look at globally? Is this something, number one, is this something we want to look at? And if it is, how big of an area?
What do you mean globally? Explain.
When I say globally, overall, how will all of these different roads affect the speed? And is there something, do we want to try to do a study on how to address this? Or is this something that we say is an enforcement issue that we try to get some help from the sheriff's office?
Or if it's not speed, is it, we need to put a stop sign somewhere or do something else to just help mitigate that, what's happening out there? So
Well,
those are the
so-
questions.
The question here is the main east-west corridor out there is this, right?
That's right.
So the last thing you want to do is put a stop sign on.
Yeah,
And
You want to keep traffic flowing.
you can, so in order to do a stop sign, you've got 8 different warrants that it needs to meet, one of those to justify that warrant of why we put it in. To be honest with you, I don't think we'll get there on vehicle counts at the intersection of 7500 and 12th Street. I just don't think we'll get there. I haven't looked up accident data to see what's happened out there in the area. Possibly.
well, what conversations have you had with UDOT?
So this
Because
is all
it's state till 4700.
correct. This would be out there west of
Well, what
70.
I'm saying is in order to come up, when you say global, then UDOT needs to be brought into that equation. Because there's no sense in us moving ahead if UDOT, and I already talked to some people down at the Capitol last week about putting that higher on the priority from 1900 down to 47. So.
Well,
Stop sign's the last thing you want to do.
Okay,
So we're on the long-term plan in 2 years, aren't we?
yeah.
Yeah, for 4700 West. or the finish of it.
47 west.
Yeah, it's a 75.
Yeah, I'm talking the state portion
Oh,
from 19 to 47.
okay, I see what you're talking about.
That's where we need
Yeah.
help.
Yeah.
And before you could do any, there's a lot of traffic that flows between 19 and 47, then splits off either direction.
Sure. And the residents that brought up the complaint, Commissioner, I don't know if you were here when I introduced it,
Yeah.
they live further out
Right.
west.
Well-
So they actually live west of 7,500.
Yeah,
And that's where they're seeing this,
I get it, but
this issue of,
Is this Anna Marie and?
It's Randy,
It
you
is.
know.
Randy and
But-
Anna Marie?
but to be honest with you, Commissioner, yes, they were the ones that vocalized it to me in the meeting the other night, but I'm probably pretty confident we would hear this complaint from others out there that live along this as well. And so, yeah, I don't think they're alone in their concerns. I know every time I meet with individuals out there, what can you do to slow these people down? They're, the
Well, there are
frustration is-
people out there that abuse it. There's no question. I
Yeah.
know there's people that do 50, 60 miles an hour, at least from what I hear.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
enforcement seems to be the big thing, Gage. I used to call the captain over out there and he used to put a patrol out there and, and so maybe that's what we need to do is talk
what
to the
is the
sheriff.
speed
and-
limit? 50?
so it is 50 out there right now.
It's 50 or 40?
It's 50.
50?
So it's a good speed.
50's,
If people drove 50, it's a good speed.
yeah.
It is.
Well, I think it is enforcement.
And I worry, like Commissioner Jenkins said, if we study this, if we go out and take some readings, quite frankly, I think that 85th percentile will be higher than 50.
I think you take it up to
Yeah, so-
55.
Well, that's my fear.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So be careful what you ask for.
That's exactly right.
So we've got somebody on the line that would like to make a comment. Normally, we don't comment in this meeting.
You're the chair.
Well, and I don't mind if you
No,
don't.
I'm okay.
You sure?
Who wants to comment?
Oh, you can see a hand on Ron Gleason. Why
Is
don't
that-
you
is
click
that
on
just
that?
me? Is that just the
That's just the mouse.
mouse?
Oh, that was just a mouse? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that.
That's
Ron
my-
lives up in the
Somebody-
Upper Valley.
Ron's
Yeah.
from the valley, so.
Okay. Well, anyway, I agree with Gage here. I'm afraid if we do a traffic study, it'll raise the speed limit, not lower it.
Yeah.
And I think we could actually do ourselves more harm than we want.
Yeah,
So, I really think what we need to do here is, just contact the sheriff, but.
And I'm happy to have that conversation with the sheriff, see if we can't get him to do a
Okay.
little more visibility out there. We've done that a couple of times in the valley in the summer when we've had issues.
Okay.
You know,
To me, that's the answer.
I don't know what you're gonna do. I mean, the sheriff's told us right out that he's down 12 or 15
Yeah.
guys. And so,
Yeah. And they're stretched so thin, those poor guys. I mean, they're helping out in every little area, especially if you get a winter storm and they're.
well, so it's
stretched
interesting. I
thin.
had to take some grandkids to school this morning. We're babysitting. And so, when I did that, I went by Plains Elementary and there was somebody there, an officer. I went by, I went to Far West Elementary and there was an officer there.
Mhm.
And these officers, they sit at these crossings and around the elementary school to try and slow people down. And I'm glad they do, because obviously people do slow down.
Yeah, and I think that's areas that need to be patrolled. There's
Right.
a school crossing where there's in danger. So do we have an accident report? I mean, are we getting,
I didn't request one yet. I figured I would talk with you guys and see what your direction was you gave us to go. with
Yeah,
this.
I think Gage is on it. We ought to get an accident
Okay.
report. and then
Yeah,
we'll-
and-
we gotta have a justification, but I think if we do a study, I'm with Scott, I think it goes up.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm scared that if we do that, it's gonna go the wrong way.
Yeah. So we'll get some accident data for you and see what we've got out there. We'll look at some key intersections out there and see.
Yeah,
what
let
we've
him,
got.
know, I'll have a personal talk with the sheriff this
Okay.
week sometime, just ask him what's the possibility of getting a little extra. But I mean, this is nothing new.
No.
Look at the UHP stats. They've had more speeding over 100 miles per hour on the freeways in the last 6 months than they have the previous 6-7 years.
Is that down in southern Utah or?
It's all across the Wasatch.
Really?
Some of it's right here.
Yeah.
People going 100 miles an hour. So,
Well, I know,
One of the problems we've got right now is they're making these cars better.
yeah.
They really
Yeah.
are.
No.
So,
that's not a problem for me.
well, so if you're going 80 miles an hour down St. George and you're not on cruise, you're going along there and gee, you look down, and all of a sudden you're going 90 and it's like, oh my gosh. A 90 is so easy to go now.
And
Well,
it's keeping
people are
up, with-
passing you going down there.
Yeah,
yeah, you're keeping up with the pack at 92,
Yeah.
right? You know,
Anything
so-
south of Nephi, I think they should make like the Autobahn, just stay to your right and open it up.
I like that.
well, so my point is, when those people go past 7,500 and your housing almost dissipates,
yeah.
it's pretty easy to get lead foot to 93.
It's what I'm hearing is it's a lot of those big trucks, they'll just get hauling out there.
Oh, I'm sure they do, yeah.
Yeah, really? Well, I've not seen anything in big trucks.
That's what Anna Marie tells me.
You know, I drive out there all the time. I go to 7,900 west, because that's where my daughter lives. And I never have trucks going that fast.
That's just what.
Well,
Anna
they're
Marie-
starting at the stop sign, and then they have to slow down to go across the river, the S-curve. And you just don't, you know,
Well, that's-
I guess going out empty, they could be going that fast. But coming back when they're loaded, they don't.
When we were doing the project on 9350 this summer, we'd have the manager lady Sherry from
But the
Compass
intersection,
Minerals come.
Yeah.
And she would tell us, yeah, you should have a sheriff come out and make a ton of money
Oh,
out
there you
here.
go.
Because they see a
Okay.
lot of high speeds.
One of the other thing that Giordano's mentioned is one of the big culprits is the people going to the landfill, the C&D landfill. They've seen a fairly large increase of traffic. And they know that's where it's going because people don't always cover their loads. So a lot of their trash blows out of their trucks or trailers or whatever it is they're
going
hauling
too
out there.
fast.
And it ends up, you know, these folks that
Yeah,
live along there
fix it up.
have to clean it all up and deal with it, right? You know, and that's frustrating, but they're indicating that those are some of the offenders as well too.
No, I don't doubt that.
Well, okay, Gage, if you take care of that. that's
Yeah,
easy
I'll
enough.
talk to Sheriff. I mean,
Talk to Sheriff.
maybe what we ought to do, and I'll talk to him if, you know, in the valley, there by the school, and I don't know if it justifies it out here. But you could put up one of those signs that, you know, it says, speed limit's this, and it shows you your speed.
Those are finicky, and here's why I.
What do you mean they're finicky?
Well,
It works in the valley.
it does to a point. You get a lot of people that actually use those and they speed up to see how fast they can get going on those too. They've got reports that verify that statement. And on
Really?
top of that, the ones we've had the best success with and lasting for a while, they're about $4,000.
Yeah,
And when they go out, the battery pack's so
Yeah,
dang
I remember
expensive,
having
you
one out
almost
at the
have
Valley.
to replace the whole sign again.
Well, I'm not suggesting we do that. I'm just saying, before we do anything,
Yeah,
that's a,
I'd like actually, I know they're about $4,000 and I think that's a good idea. I think we ought to invest out there.
And I'm not opposed.
I'm okay with that.
I think the good one, the ones that are good enough, you gotta spend the money, but
you do.
that's an effort, and then that gives them one more thing, hey, look. And put it right out there where they get going, and
Yeah,
this is it, hey, it also shows them, okay, we're getting serious about this.
sure.
So if they decide to speed when they're doing that, then
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay.
You put that up and then you enforce it with a couple of tickets and there you
the
go.
word will get around with those truck drivers.
They can't, those truck drivers can't afford to get too many tickets.
No,
No.
oh, no.
That's a
They're in
bad
trouble.
deal. It's a bad deal.
Yeah.
Okay,
If
Well, that's my
the,
2 cents.
If the bigger one costs just a little more, get the bigger one. I want it to light up like Las Vegas out there.
okay. So go ahead and move forward with one of those
I
signs.
I would, if you wouldn't mind, just get the one going from east to west, I think, because I think you're right, Scott. I think they're loaded going, or unloaded, empty, going west, and then they're
That's right.
so loaded coming back.
That's right.
Well, look at the best place to put that.
Yeah, yeah, we can do that.
We trust you.
Okay,
And I'd get the sheriff involved with that too,
sure.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, we'll ping him and get his input as well.
because
too.
yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Gary, will you just respond back to Giordano's? Let him know we
Absolutely.
had this conversation.
Of course.
And what the solution is.
Yeah.
Okay.
sounds good.
Good. Well, we got about 10 minutes here. Other things to bring up?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
Okay, these don't affect you guys, but you're welcome to stay.
Well, hold on. Do we have anything collectively that would affect them that you want to talk about?
I do. I have two things. Well, I
Okay,
have one thing for these guys.
okay, go ahead.
I gave G. Norman George.
You know
Your,
him?
Oh, yeah.
contact information today.
He's a good guy.
He got it, well, this is really about property, so we could go into close. But he said he's got another duck on the water on 17 out there. So he just called me an hour ago and said, I said, well, call Sean. I've got more comment, but I'd want to be in closed session before I do.
Is that on that?
Do you want to go?
I'd want to go into closed session before I go into any more.
Do you want to do that right
Yeah,
now?
do you want to do it?
Yeah.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor, say aye.
aye, closed session.
Okay, we're gonna go for about 15 minutes. We'll
Don't
be right
anybody
back.
go anywhere. We're just gonna mute video.
Bring us dinner. Hey, sit down.
No, I just kidding.
We'll feed you.
All right,
Gentlemen, commissioners.
Steve, you're first on the agenda, so we're assuming you're gonna talk about it.
Yes, sir. I printed just 3 pages of the staff report
Okay,
to show you quickly what's going on here. This is on your agenda tomorrow as a public hearing. Randy applied back towards the end, maybe the fall of last year, for a rezoning from A2 to either a M2 or a C3 zone. The reason those two specific zones are because Randy's in talks with Cpnr.
Contractors.
They
They line, right, he's familiar with them, but they line the inside of pipes that are corroding.
Oh,
And they do a lot of sewer and.
mainly
drain pipe.
sewer, but I think
Mainly
they do
sewer
others
and
as
mainly-
well.
do they?
They do it all, but the water pipes is real expensive, so.
So when you get cement pipe in the ground, it'll crack,
Yeah.
slowly erode away. And they'll come in line and give you 10 or 15 more years.
Oh, wow. Okay. good.
Yeah, it works
Is
pretty good,
that, is
actually.
that all they get out of that? That,
I don't know.
I thought it was more than that.
No, you might know more than me, Randy.
we were
Because
initially, okay.
they're gonna start doing some of the.
They do a
pipe
fair
out
amount.
by us.
Yeah, well,
this
Central
spring.
Weaver's happy with them. They've used them a lot.
Yeah, Central Weaver and Davis Sewer Districts use them a lot.
We were initially thinking M2 because that allows outdoor storage. It also allows like warehouse and contractor equipment. However, so we took it to the planning commission, M2, the planning commission unanimously said no. They're fine.
Really?
For the M2.
Yeah,
For the M2. yeah.
Why?
the general plan doesn't support this currently, and we don't know what it will say in the future.
I think they were wanting to wait to see what happens with the general plan, and then after that, then if, we could get a consideration for that on the general plan, then look at it.
Okay, is there another zoning that works for him?
So it's either gonna be currently today, it's either gonna be M2 or C3.
So what is it right now?
The
A2.
zoning today is A2.
A2.
So at A2, that was when I had that turkey farm on it.
Yes.
I'd rather have anything on it than that turkey farm.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Our recommendation is if you decide
That
to
turkey farm
rezone it,
stink.
if you decide to rezone it to either M2 or C3, that you don't finalize it tomorrow, but that we come up with a development agreement that restricts the uses, because as you know, there's lots of uses in C3 and M2 that
Well, what did the planning commission say about C3?
they didn't hear C3. Because this was before we realized that he could do C3. C3, he could do it, has to all be enclosed. It basically says contractor shop, which is what this would be, as long as it's all in an enclosed building.
And part of the reason,
So you
I
could
think they
store
were
equipment
against
outside.
the M
It all has to
was
be
because it
inside.
opened it up to too many other types of businesses or things that can be done out there that they
Well,
basically
it's
wouldn't
in
want.
conflict. I mean, we just got a bunch of M2 down on West 12. To me, that's where the manufacturing ought to go.
Yes, I agree.
Not here.
But this is right next to those commercial
Greenhouse.
greenhouses.
Yeah, well, I'm probably okay with the commercial. I just don't like the manufacturing. I'm kind of on the same side as the planning commission.
And the commercial greenhouses, right now, they're allowed in the agriculture zone,
Right,
that use.
right.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
we could look at C in that area, but like Steve said, it would require a plan.
Well, if that's in a-
amendment and a rezone.
If that's in a stay commercial, I think this goes back to, you know, what we've told some other people is, let's get through this general plan. And if that's an area for commercial, then that's when we address it all at once. I don't like the idea of us spot zoning right now before this plan.
That's our recommendation
That's-
to you as well. is to-
Yeah, we're only
See,
talking 2 months.
The problem is 2 months. The only problem is these guys have been looking for property for a couple of years. They're expanding. They're a company out of Colorado, Denver, Colorado. This is their Ogden facility. They're in Weaver County. And they want to stay in Weaver County, but they've outgrown their current facility.
Where are they now?
They're right there on 1200. Who's there? Trying to think of another business. You know that little industrial park? If you go 1200 west across the tracks, and then it turns onto 1700. They're the first building right there.
Okay.
They're in that first building and they've outgrown that, they're growing that, but one of their concerns is they want to stay in Weaver County. Right now, they have 24 employees. 90% of them employees live in Weaver County. They've got to do something here this year because they've outgrown their facility. And they're worried about if they have to move south or north, they're going to lose some employees because they're not going to want to drive to Salt Lake or whatever. So they have a concern of, because the employees are so flipping hard to get nowadays, losing their current employees if they move to a distance where it's too far from where they live, you know. So they have that concern. And then, but what you need to know, they're a good tax base because they did like in 2020, they did like $43 million worth of business in the Ogden or Weaver County facility, and they paid just under $9 million in local taxes. So they're a good tax base.
I've had conversations
And
with
they
these
don't.
guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
really good company. I let
Yeah.
them know
Yeah,
out west, currently way out west, where we have our existing manufacturing, it is allowed out there. And
Yeah.
Their concern was that obviously the price for that.
well,
land
the price of land, there's no way you're gonna put that type business in the manufacturing, $400,000 an acre, just thinking.
I gave them,
For a contract, and Weaver County's always been bad
Well, so
for having a
Randy,
place for a contractor. to go
Randy
anyway.
just sold that property at $550 a foot. About that.
70 grand an acre. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
no,
so,
not 550 a foot, or like $2 a foot.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's
well,
that?
70 grand, under.
70 grand an acre.
No way.
Just happened.
Yeah,
yeah,
400,000 an acre, that's
That's what M series.
Oh, that's in
property's
August.
gone.
that's Salt Lake prices there, that's the airport.
these guys,
The property across from, you know the property there on Selby's property. What did that go for?
And Selby's,
Yeah,
right around 55 an acre.
it's just residential. But anyway,
Yeah.
besides the point, they gotta get, they basically told me that they're not gonna jump to the M1 hoops or the M zoning hoops to go in there. Cause they're not in M zoning now, they're in C zoning now.
I've got them in
So-
contact with Stephanie to hopefully find something for them.
Yeah.
So they're on 5100. Would they head due north and go right across the track and onto 12th and then out?
Yeah. And another reason they
How
like.
much ground did they?
Another reason they like my property is because the future legacy is just gonna be
Yeah,
west of
That's
us.
true, it'll be right
And they
there.
think it'll be a really good connection point for them to go north and south in the future.
Well, look, I am personally not opposed to this. I think this is these guys are just gonna have a building on there and they're gonna store their equipment in the yard. And I
They don't have
don't,
a lot of equipment. Most of it's trucks,
uh,
trucks and stuff, and that's allowed, right? According to Charlie.
How much ground do they need?
I don't actually know.
They're looking for, mine's 5 acres.
5.0 acres.
Yeah,
Oh,
5 acres?
5.08.
Well,
Point is, I'd like to try to work with him if we can.
I don't mind working on it, not as an M2, but if you can make it work as a C.
And I met with them a couple weeks ago, and they said they could make it work. If you could fit them in the sea, they think, they're pretty sure they can meet all the requirements that you guys would want them to make. As far as on inside storage and landscaping and so on and so forth.
If you end up wanting to approve this tomorrow, I would suggest that it, be tabled until we can come up with a development agreement that allows this and restricts the uses. There's other more intense uses in C3 than just a contractor shop.
Yeah.
And so we like to have them come back with a, better looking site plan and a development agreement to bring back to you. And, maybe in a couple more weeks. So
Which they would be willing to do.
So
They
Brent,
kind of need a little more info of what, besides this conceptual idea of what, a little bit more of what you would expect them to do. Because a couple things, they said the fencing to the new Saddlewood and to the north, they would slat anyway, even if you didn't require it, just for being good neighbors to block that view, because it's already in a chain link 7-foot commercial chain link fence. And then they'd be willing to face the buildings or put the buildings where you thought it would be best for the surrounding developments and so on and so forth like that. And then we talked about a couple of other issues that I just spoke to
we have to
Steve
make
about.
sure that the building has the right materials on it.
Okay, that we didn't talk about. He just mentioned that.
The aesthetic of the building, we
Yeah.
need to make sure meets our codes. All we've had to work on so far is the second page in, it's just
Yeah.
a rough site layout.
What's
And
the
they
zoning?
didn't
What's the
actually
zoning?
talk to me
between
about the
17th
aesthetics.
Street and
However, I
12
think
West
they would
Out
meet,
there where John
whatever
River-
We're trying to go
It's
to
in
form-based
Mary's
coding
Somerville.
around here, so
which
You
is
know,
what,
basically saying this is kind of what your building has to look like, so we don't have a bunch of
Property, you're looking at
steel sheds out there that-
17th, 12th Street.
yeah.
What's the
Just have some
zoning
type of
inside there
architectural
where
control.
build his
Yeah,
business?
yeah. And I think they'd be okay with that, you know.
so
what we've met with.
It's not in.
It's not,
Okay.
let me,
Brent's on the line here. He's actually one of our planners. Can we talk to him?
you can do whatever, you can do whatever you'd like.
What do you think, commissioners?
he's got an opinion.
Brent Edwards, would you like to chime in here and tell us what you think the planning commission would approve?
Yeah, there we go. Sorry. I'm not gonna speak for the whole commission, but it was kind of
I'm just ask you to give us the temperature of the water.
the concern we had was all the things that were available in that manufacturing zone that they could possibly do there, even if this certain business didn't go in. We just recently approved, and I think they've actually broke ground, started construction on a housing development that's just right next to this property to the east there. And that was where our biggest concern was, some of those things that are allowed in that M zone in that area.
But do you think they'd approve a C zone, a commercial? With a development agreement, so it was a building?
I really like where our planning staff's going with these, these development agreements or these master plan development agreements like that. I think there might be something good that could come of that, but me personally, I don't see a problem with the C zone being right there. I mean, the greenhouses are kind of commercial, but they are agricultural. So I guess, you could kind of take that either way, but yeah, my feelings would be okay with a development agreement with that, but I can't speak for the rest of the commission.
I know, but what do you think the temperature of the commission would be? Do you think they would possibly consider that?
I think it would be split.
It'd be what?
It would be split.
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 You could, if you wanted, you could send it back because they haven't considered C3 yet as the planning
Well,
commission.
the only thing I'm willing to do is look at C3, so I'm dead on arrival with an M zone. We got
Well,
hundreds of acres of M2. We
To
don't
be,
need,
to
we don't
be
need a spot
honest
zone
with you,
M2.
I am too. I, because of the other things that could possibly go there.
Right.
In the M, I am also, but I don't think, I can deal with C, and I think CNL can deal with C if they can fit in there somehow. And
All right.
Charlie's looked at it.
Steve, I think you got your
with
marching
these,
orders
yeah.
here. It appears like, we'd like to go back and see if we can get a C zone on this. And, a development agreement to put some warehousing in, and frankly, personally, I don't care if they store their equipment in here, out in the open, because they'll have some pretty good sized stuff to do that. When they run these, coders down there, they're big, long coils of, coding equipment that run in and out of there.
Yeah, they're built on
And, yeah.
trailers.
You want to allow outdoor storage?
I would be okay with that. Now you gotta talk to the other two. I'm trying to tell Bren what we think we would approve.
Mhm.
I'd allow outdoor storage.
Is it worth you guys or even the planning going over and see their current operation?
Probably a good idea.
Yeah. All right, well, Bren, you got at least 2 votes, maybe 3. I don't know. So we're favorable to this. So I'm hoping that you'll represent this to the commission. Or
Yeah,
to your planning commission.
I'll pass on what's there, and I do like what Mr. Opalato stated. I will take some time before this comes back on our agenda and go over on 17th and look at their operation and some stuff like that, which might help them as well.
But Brad, I want to be clear, at least from my perspective, I'm not willing to do anything until we finalize that general plan. Because we've already turned some people down for that exact reason.
Even commercial?
What's that?
Are you saying even commercial?
Even commercial, I don't want to do anything until we
Even though
look at the
it's
entire.
near the nursery.
And that, we're within a couple months of that, so it's
Yeah.
not like it's a huge deal.
Yeah, we're flying here. So.
I think the planning commission would support that as well. I think that was some of their concerns was with the general plan update coming, so I'll pass that along.
So if we take this.
Thanks,
off your-
Bren.
If we take this off your agenda tomorrow and then wait till we get the general plan done in a couple months, and then we'll take it back to the planning
I think
commission.
Randy wants it.
I'm not sure you need to wait too long.
Well-
I mean, he could head in that direction because we won't approve it till after we've done the general plan, but all the work getting up to it, he could be doing right now.
Randy wanted
Did
what?
you get it on the schedule for the planning? commission?
It is on your agenda for
Right.
tomorrow.
No, I meant for the planning commission in a week or so. When's their meeting?
It's,
Next week?
Next week, yeah.
Is it
So,
on their
Steve?
agenda to resubmit as the,
No,
Charlie was gonna do that.
I don't believe
Well,
it is.
we still have, a day or two.
Oh,
So,
okay.
It won't pass on our agenda tomorrow.
No.
That's what we're telling you.
No, I
Okay.
understand that.
So knowing that, Randy, do you want to take it off their agenda and not even bother?
Well, yeah, I'd rather submit it back to the planners, don't you think?
I think
Yeah,
I think your
you're
best
wise.
place is to
Yeah.
take it back to planning,
As a
get
C,
the recommendation from planning to bring back to us.
I agree.
But it sounds like you may want to wait till the general
But-
plan's done.
Yeah.
To take it back to planning commission, then we can get it right back on to the county commission.
Well, can we take it to them on the stipulation of waiting the? So
That's
we
what I
get,
do.
so we get
I say.
one of the processes out of the way.
I'd say, look, let's send it in as a C2, because I'm pretty sure the commission will support that. If I can get the planning commission to support it, well, then we'll be all ready to go, and we could do it right after the general plan's approved.
C2 or C3?
Three.
C3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, unless it fits under,
It
you know,
doesn't fit under C2.
yeah,
It
that's
has
what
to
I
be
was
C3.
thinking. That would have to be.
So we'd have to do C3 with the development agreement.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
You said C2, that's why I was
Oh.
making sure we were going to, because there is
Right.
there is a difference.
There's
in
a
what can be
difference.
done.
C3,
okay.
they probably
Is
can't
there-
make it work with the C2.
Probably not. Yeah, I agree. So is there, how can they get like these aesthetic information for the building and stuff? Cause can he just get with you?
Yep.
Okay,
That's not.
that's really the only thing we didn't discuss. I have no idea what
That's
type
not,
building.
you're talking about those are, that's this much in this whole equation.
Yeah, these guys want to be good neighbors and, you know, and I think they're an outstanding company from their reputation and stuff. And they just got 2 huge contracts that start the end of March.
Yeah, one of them was Central Weaver.
One of them Central Weaver,
Yeah, I think
and
it's
they got
$5 or
to-
$6 million, $7 million. It's a big one.
yeah, and that's just the first phase by us. They're actually out there marking the manholes right now. So it's pretty interesting deal, but anyway, they're a good tax base and for the county and so on and so forth. So,
So
Okay.
I'll have them take that off of your agenda then for
Good.
tomorrow.
I think you're best to do that.
okay,
Great.
Thanks.
All right, thanks,
Okay.
everybody.
thanks for your time.
You bet.
guys.
Good luck.
So I'm gonna get Brian and then hit the rest of them away.
So, Gage, Scott, right before you're leaving, I just talked to Rob Despade.
What Rob have to say?
I think we're good.
We're good?
Friday,
That's good.
Friday.
Who's boss?
We got, I don't know, we got him on the agenda tomorrow. We're recognizing Peterson. Tomorrow, Bechtel give them an award, Peterson Award. You know, Bechtel, they build cities. They build whole plants like Kennecott and stuff like that. They recognize them as the outstanding contractor.
I think Bechtel owns Fleur, don't they?
They're in Florida?
Fleur Construction.
Oh, I don't know.
They're a big developer. Works with them.
So anyway, this is a
Out
big
of
deal
Greenville, South
tomorrow.
Carolina. You've been there.
Uh-huh.
You've seen their headquarters. Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen their headquarters.
If you've been to Greenville, you've seen it.
Been to Greenville. I
Okay.
have seen it.
It's the biggest buildings all around. Yeah.
I don't think we've met.
You look familiar to me.
Yeah, you look familiar as well, but Jim Metallic.
We have met. I know your name. Well, I know your name.
Oh,
Everybody knows,
I'm
everybody
Jim
knows this
Harvey.
guy.
How are you?
Good to see you.
You're the new kid on the
I
block.
am the new kid on the block.
Is this the guy we're cleaning out this office?
He starts tomorrow, full time.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've been, since they told me they gave me the position, I've been working full time at it already.
He has.
Thanks. Appreciate your service to us.
So are we talking about space? Or are we talking about funds? Or both?
Gage, so you know. Where Bill, you remember where Melissa was over here?
Yeah.
We moved him back down. There's a little triangular room down off, you know, when we go to a breakout session?
Yeah.
In the commission, there's a little triangular room that's about like this. Down there.
Off the
there.
hall or off that, yeah.
Used to store chairs.
Yeah.
And we put him down there, so we never have to move again.
I feel sorry for Bill. I mean, because I
So who is
know him
over
really
here?
well. Bill
Good.
Francis.
We're gonna move Jim right here, Jim.
Is that where? is that
Yeah,
where you
until
wanna
they
go?
get the offices built downstairs.
That way he's on a different floor than the rest of them and it works out, right?
Okay.
We
So
may have,
you're the first one of our public defenders.
I am.
Got it. Okay,
Yeah, they
All right.
hired me as the director, so.
makes sense.
yeah, it's great.
The director, got it.
Mr. Chair, this is their chairman,
Oh,
Scott Jenkins. This is Jim Retallic.
we,
I know.
we
I've been with him.
way back.
Yeah, we go back 30 years, 40 years, Jim and me.
Defending him when he was a juvenile delinquent.
Yeah, well,
That's it.
almost.
Just about. No, I was the city attorney when he was the mayor out in Plain
That's
City.
right.
Is that right?
He was. All right, we're gonna go to the next item on our agenda, which is our indigent defense update. So Brian Barron, go to you.
All right, thanks for giving us some time.
You bet.
We have 2 items to discuss with you. The first is an interlocal agreement with Morgan County for us to provide indigent defense services to them. So Morgan has one attorney under contract who.
So before we get going,
Yeah,
have you introduced Jim to
Yeah.
these two?
We did.
Well, I was out.
I don't write, yeah.
Yeah.
We
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, go ahead.
Go, Jim.
So Morgan County has one attorney who's under contract to provide representation to indigent defendants in their district court, their juvenile court, and their justice court. That attorney is leaving. He got a contract with Davis County, and so he is done. Today's his
Buggers.
last day. Yeah, exactly. They're still on everybody.
They are right now, aren't they?
We've been talking with Morgan for about 10 months about the possibility of doing this interlocal agreement where we would handle those courts. And it's been kind of on again, off again, but now that they're losing their attorney and Jim's really interested in it. And if we get this contract in place, it gives us priority status for IDC funding. So we decided it would be a good time to pull the trigger. But I wanted to bring it before you all, just in case you had questions about it, wanted any changes made to the agreement before we bring it to you in commission meeting.
So how much service they typically need? I mean, what percent?
They have a district court that they generally meet twice a month.
Okay,
They have a justice court, which I think is once a month.
Yeah, once.
And they have a juvenile court that is once a month. The justice court is probably almost the most time consuming one. Where it's 4 or 5 hours, but
We've
the-
talked about this before,
Yeah.
Brian.
Yeah.
the district court is, and we're already using our judges up here. Judge Hyde is the district court judge up there. We have a public defender that Carl Anderson, that's been working for us for a few months, and fantastic. He's excited about doing it. He lives in Uinta, so it's just a short hop, just going up to Morgan, and when
well,
we
I
go
think it
back
makes
live.
sense. I mean, I like the idea.
So do I.
Why not help them out? You know, I'm assuming it's gonna be a zero cost to Weaver County. They pay their way.
They pay us $2,000 a month and we pay Carl $1,700. So we've got a little bit of a slush fund there.
Okay.
Plus, if we have a case that goes to trial or we've got a conflict and we need to bring in another attorney, they pay hourly for that attorney.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so that's fair.
So we're covered.
And if they want out or we want out, like,
90
a
days.
month, 90 days, we
90
can
day
get out.
termination.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's easy enough. I don't have any problems with that.
I think it's good.
Okay.
Brian always brings a solution when he brings us an opportunity.
Well,
As it
this
should
next
be.
one you might not be as happy about.
Okay,
You better be
Say that.
careful what you say.
No, it's okay. Still, he'll have an idea for us.
I think something just fell down on that chair, Brian.
Yeah, you're right. Label.
Oh,
going off.
I didn't know that. Okay.
So you've all heard of Doug Lovell. He
Oh, yeah.
has been on death row for a long time, and we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on his case to date.
Again?
Plural.
Yeah, so we have right now, we have Colleen Coburg who's representing him, and she's been his attorney for about the last 2.5 years. She has a contract with a cap of $100,000, and she called me up a few weeks ago and she said, Brian, I'm gonna hit that cap and I'm gonna need to exceed it. And I said, well, you better draft a letter to the county commissioners because they're gonna need to make the decision. So here's her letter explaining why she needs to exceed the cap. And I spoke with her about it in detail, and initially my reaction was, well, sorry, you signed up for this, knowing what you were getting into.
Yeah.
But she has several developments that have occurred that have dramatically increased the cost for her and the time commitment. And one of those is Sean Young, the attorney who screwed up in the trial court. He has actively been assisting the Attorney General's office. He initially turned over about 200 emails to them as part of his file for representing Doug Lovell. And then he ended up just giving them his username and password to his Gmail account. And they went in and they found about 1,400 documents that were associated with the Lovell case. And so it just exponentially expanded the scope of the investigation.
Right.
And she said that the AG's office has just been fighting tooth and nail on every single issue. She's been practicing for 30 years, and she said this has been the most challenging case that she has seen. There's been more fighting between the AG's office and her than any other case she's handled. So she does have some issues. Sam Newton also, he was the attorney who was on this before her. He had prepared a draft brief that was, the limit is 80 pages. His brief was 220 pages over that limit. And so,
220 and 8, so around 300.
yeah, 300 pages. And then she had to take what she did in the 23B hearing just recently, and she has to add that to what he had already prepared. And so she has had to file with the Court of Appeals to ask for permission to file an overlength brief. Of course, the AG's office is fighting on that. If they tell her she has to go back and amend it and shorten it, it's going to take more work. She's going to have to try and pare it down. So she has had quite a few issues. Honestly, my concern is I don't want to give her a blank check, but I also don't want to scare her away, because when we lost Sam, when he withdrew on this, she's the only one who applied. And so I don't know where we would turn if she ended up leaving us.
This makes me so angry. Jane sat on she was in the
Jury?
she was in the jury when this was heard the last time. And
Really? She was a jurist, huh?
Really?
there's no question. This guy, all he's doing is milking the system.
Well, sure, he doesn't want to die.
Well, he should have thought about that when he was killing the gal that when he took his life, the Joyce Yost.
Yeah.
Is that her name?
Mhm.
Tortured her first, raped her, everything. This guy, let me tell you what, just turn him over to me. I'll take care of it.
Would you?
Point being though, we have to provide that defense. And it has to
We
be
have to
good.
work legally up.
That's right. And there's nothing new here. And the last thing you'd want to do is get this overturned because we didn't provide a proper defense.
Why does the state put this on us?
Well, that's just,
And quite frankly,
Well, it is.
she said in her letter that, let's see. She says, in 30 years of trial practice, I can't recall a more fractious, difficult, laborious, inefficient, and frankly skewered proceeding. And a lot of that's due to the AGs, the way they're fighting this tooth and nail. And I understand that they have to do their best, but it leaves us really with our
Another
hands
reason to
tied.
do away with the death penalty.
well, this is right. When you talk about it, that's one of the very reasons you can keep a person in life and they're much cheaper than you can. You
By millions.
Yeah, by millions.
He's been on death row since '93. As a matter of fact, when we had the Public Defender Association, myself and Ryan Bushell did the original 23B hearing. And it was because of problems that Stan Taylor.
How
had
much
in
have we
his-
spent on him so far?
That is a very good
I
question.
bet it's over $10 million.
I don't have records that go back to when Jim did the initial representation, but I'd say, yeah, we're probably around 300,000 or more.
I thought you told me 4.
Yeah, it may be that. I haven't added up
400,
recently.
but that's plus state money, plus everybody else.
Yeah, but that's just
Yeah,
our,
that's just our
that's
defense.
just our side.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
doesn't count the other
No.
side.
I'm saying if you take a look at
Oh,
everything
yeah.
that's been spent since '93,
Oh,
I'll guarantee it was a lot more than 300,000.
oh, yeah. Yeah, that's
The
just our
average-
portion since Mike and Sean took it.
Yeah.
When did they do the trial? Back in 2010?
Well, the prosecutor also spends 2 or 3 times more than the
Yeah.
defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Anyway,
And just for, if it's any satisfaction, Sean Young has been disbarred because of this. Basically, he totally abdicated his responsibility of attorney-client privilege and turned over all his information to the Attorney General's office, despite the fact of an order existing saying that he was supposed to turn it over to Colleen, and who was going to redact sensitive information, then turn everything back over to the AGs. And so he just gave him his files.
And he's been
career.
disbarred?
He has been.
really,
And really, he's
How stupid can you be?
he's the primary reason that this has gotten so expensive. The AG's office pushing hard, but then also all the issues that he's caused.
Look, I don't see where we got a choice.
no, we really don't, unfortunately.
What are you gonna do? So it is a blank check, isn't it?
Yeah, she's asking for an extra
80,000.
80,000. And so I don't know if we just say, okay, you've got up to 80, or if we say, we'll give you 40 and then you've got to check back in with us.
That's what
Jim-
I'd like to do.
Yeah, but 40, that doesn't buy much. I think I'll at least go to 50 or 60 and then say.
What is- And I also have another idea that we might be able to get, see if we can hire a law clerk to work for her. So it'd be better to pay somebody a lot
Yeah.
lesser.
Good
Yeah,
idea.
law
To
clerk would
assist
be
her,
half her
To,
price.
yeah, to at least.
She's getting
So
So
125.
can you direct
an hour.
that traffic in terms of getting her a law clerk and?
Yeah, we
her
could,
choice or our
yeah, we
choice?
could, well, I'll talk to her. I got a call into her right now and
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that might,
I'm okay with offering her 50 now.
Okay.
Is that a motion?
Yep, so moved.
I'll second that.
Yeah, I'll go with that
With,
too.
with the comment,
Huh?
I'd even go up to 60 now before we get to the 80. But it's okay, 50, 60, that's a
Yeah, well,
lot.
50 starts.
I like your law clerk idea a lot. That's a great
Okay.
idea, Jim.
All fair say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, there you go. You got the approval to do that.
Okay, and we'll look into the locker clerk and then we
It's a
can.
great
bring
Yeah,
that
I think
to
that's a great idea. Help her out here.
That helps. Wow.
Plus, you know, sometimes you want somebody to bounce things off of. I mean, these become very lonely when it's you in a room with all these papers and years behind this. You just get wore out on this stuff.
amen.
But you could be looking at another couple of years before this ever.
Well, it's
Yeah.
gonna be interesting to see what the legislature does. If they abolish the
Yeah,
death penalty, are they gonna make it retroactive?
Yeah,
And if they make it retroactive, are they gonna say people who with a current death penalty are going to face life without the possibility of parole or life with parole? If you remember, California abolished their death penalty and Charlie Manson was on the death row at the time. And he would come up every 10 years for a board hearing and with the Board of Pardons. And of course, he was always rejected and he eventually died in prison. So
Wow.
these are tough.
it is.
probably not. I don't know how he wrote his bill this year, when I wrote the bill 4 years ago, I didn't make it retroactive. I don't know if he has or not.
That's right. You ran this once. I forgot that, Gage. In fact, probably the first one was yours.
No, I was the second.
Oh, were you?
Steve Urquhart tried it the first time.
No.
So who's doing it now?
Uh,
I'll find out.
Lowry.
who's-
Larry Snow.
Lowry Snow, okay. I'll
Yeah,
find out.
Lowry Stoves. That's right.
And I'll,
So, you know, I was always a no vote on this because I really wanted these people to get to the point where they got what they deserved. But what ends up happening here is when you get your emotions out of this and you come right down to say, okay, now let's talk practically about this. Well, the fact of the matter is, it just costs too much to continually
Work through it.
work through this. And it just never stops.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as we work through this appeal, he'll file another one.
Well,
Doesn't, he can have an unlimited amount of appeals, can he?
He is limited on the amount of appeals, but there are post-conviction proceedings that he could pursue after this
wow.
appeal.
Yeah, it's time to, we better have Lowry make this
Well,
retroactive.
some
this-
they make their whole living off these guys.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
but they don't make much of a living, to Jim's point, it's not a lot, but it's enough if you got 4 or 5 of them. It's hard,
it is.
it just milks the county to death.
And,
It's
and,
not right.
and another problem is, by the time you get around to executing somebody, they're not the same individual that they were
No.
that committed the crime.
That's right.
I got to know Doug very well during the
Did you?
time I did his appeals. And he's definitely not the same individual. Although, you know, that doesn't change the fact that Joyce
Yeah, what he
Yost
did.
is dead and that she left. There was a lot of pain. There's still a lot of pain in the community because of this. And I recognize that.
Well, and that's the other, it's not only the financial expense, which is the practical standpoint, but if you talk to a lot of those people that have to come in and testify that were part of that family
Mhm.
every time, the emotional
Yeah.
toll is just as good.
Ruins
That's,
their
that's the reason I ran the bill. Talk to 4 or 5 of those people that they went in, that every 5 years they had to go in and testify, brings back those memories.
Mhm.
They're trying to get it out of their lives. They can never get it out of their life. And the guy sitting there in prison, you know, he doesn't have anything better to do than just to torture people. So you're letting him torture not only the original person, but the people in his family, his family. Which is
So
not-
Well, they interviewed a little gal the other night on the news and asked her that very thing. And she said just what you did, Gage. She says, you know, every 3 or 4 years this comes up, and we have to talk about it. And she says, I have spent 30, they were talking about the 2 brothers,
Lafferty's.
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 Yeah, about Ron, and this gal said, look, I just can't get this out of my life. And she says, it's destroying me.
Yeah, it
Uh,
tears them up.
yeah,
It's not fair.
it isn't fair. You're right.
You put them in, lock them up, throw away the key. We save money, keep the family out. Eventually they may be able to heal, at least to some extent.
Yeah. It's hard. I
Anyway,
feel bad for these families. Well, after listening to that little gal say what she did, I thought, you poor bugger.
yeah, oh, yeah.
Cause you just can't get it. Get
Can't put
over it.
it, can't put it behind you.
You can't
Yeah,
put it behind you.
well, and then when you have these official proceedings where you go in and testify in front of the parole board, that's a big deal.
It is.
You know, it's much different than just thinking about it or reading the paper about it. And that's when, so you go through these cycles, you know, where they just brings it right back to the head. It's tough.
Anyway,
All right. Okay.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate you.
thanks.
All right, so Gary and Sean should be back out there.
The Causey Flat.
We're back.
That's good.
All right.
You know, we probably ought to get these guys to rearrange these and put you guys all in order.
Yeah,
So
save you
could
walking
cut-
a few
yeah,
stairs.
yeah. It save you,
A lot of times I'm here for the whole day, so.
Yeah.
And that's okay. These are good. These are very good meetings.
all right.
All right, commissioners, you're aware of this, but this is the agreement that we have with the Forest Service, Bureau of Reclamation, Federal Highways Administration for improvements at Causey Reservoir. This is on your agenda tomorrow.
All right.
So let me just quickly go over the scope of what we're looking at. So we will be repaving the entire section of Causey Road. So it's 1.6 miles, or yeah, essentially from Highway 39 up to the intersection at the reservoir where you go across the dam. So that will be completely overlaid with asphalt, make it much nicer. We'll still be at 22 feet wide. We're not increasing the width of that at all.
Will it still have the weight? Can it still handle heavy?
Should be able to, yes, yes. On that stretch, we're replacing the Beaver Creek Bridge. There's a small culvert / bridge there. It's old and it needs to be replaced.
It's the one next to the restaurant, Gage.
Yep.
So
Right
it's-
there.
It's at the west end of that road.
Red Rock.
Yeah, right next to the Red Rock.
Yeah, we
Just
looked at that
turn.
when we did.
We
the tour.
did, correct.
Yeah, that's right. We parked.
We
just-
stopped right
We
there.
parked right there.
Yeah, not far from
That's
it.
exactly
I parked there
right.
for quite a long time.
Yeah, that
So,
internet car stayed there.
That's true.
It liked the outdoors.
okay, so after that, we're repaving about a half mile of Skull Crack Road, including the addition of limited parking on the shoulder. We are reconfiguring the intersection of Causey Road and Skull Crack Road. We are realigning and expanding the overflow parking area. That's what the Forest Service is working on. Repaving just over a half mile of Wheatgrass Road, which heads out toward the Boy Scout camp. And we're
That's
stabilizing.
what that's called, Kiesel and Browning. That's. the
Yep, that's wheatgrass, yep. So stabilizing sections where erosion has taken place, including improving drainage. So that will be a huge improvement because it's unsafe right now. There will be still one section that
There are
narrows.
rocks on that road all the time.
Oh, yeah. And it narrows down to one
Yeah,
one
one
way.
lane in spots.
That will still be there, but will hopefully improve sight and make that an easier area to transition through. And then potentially some better parking at the end as you get toward the Boy Scout camp. It gets really crowded there on weekends right now. So the total project cost is estimated at $11,450,000. Yes. Of that, the county's contribution is going to be $175,000 in cash, $50,000 due next month, and $125,000 due in October of 2024. I've already talked to Scott Park. That's not a problem. He can allocate that. That is down from $375,000 that we would have had to pay. But the Forest Service, the regional office, stepped up and contributed an additional $200,000, which we are very grateful for.
Yeah.
So that was
a good
huge.
move.
Yep. We are also responsible for the acquisition of any property if necessary when we replace the Beaver Creek Bridge. So if we have to expand our footprint, we go onto private property, we will have to cover the property acquisition costs, which should be minimal because we shouldn't have to take up much property. Also, if we have to relocate any utilities when we do that, we will be responsible for the utility relocation costs. So that is the full scope of the county's cost.
Oh, my only concern is sometimes, and Bill, I'm glad you're here. But you get into here and sometimes if we hit a wire, we nick it or something like that that's in the road or plumbing. And how far back do we have to, have to replace some old clay pipe or wood pipe with some new stuff? I mean, do we just, that gets tough.
This is the good thing is under the franchise agreements, any utilities like Rocky Mountain or any power, or anything, they have to move them all for free. So that's not the, we'll have them, they'll come and locate them, move them. We don't have to do anything. The only thing we have is one drainage that we're looking at. And after we look at the right of way, it looks like that's not even come close to any of our stuff. So we shouldn't have anything, maybe a phone line.
Yep, but the only
but
thing
they'll have
may
to
be
move
that.
too. So,
Phone line.
but we
They
think
still have a
that's-
phone at Camp Keith and Camp Browning.
Correct.
So, but that's all overhead too. So, yeah.
We
So,
don't
yeah.
anticipate much.
Not much
cost.
in there.
Just checking.
We're not. And looking at the right of ways, maybe Sean, you're gonna go into this. I don't think we'll have to acquire much, anything.
We shouldn't have to acquire any. We're keeping it at that 22-foot width on Causey, so we should be good. And then wheatgrass and skullcrack are owned by the Forest Service on either side. So if there was additional property, it would come from them and they would take care of that. So we've estimated about, we just said $10,000 for property acquisition, $10,000 for utility relocation, just as placeholders, so they could put that in the contract. So that's what you'll see in there, 175,000 cash, 10,000 for utilities, 10,000 for property acquisition. And that's it. Preliminary engineering design starts as soon as we make our first payment. So March of 22, and construction's anticipated to take place in the 2025 federal fiscal year.
We send our money early, we got it.
As soon as you approve it tomorrow, we're planning on sending it.
Okay.
Yep, and we've got a fund transfer agreement that you'll sign tomorrow, Commissioner, as well as the memorandum of agreement that all parties will sign. Now, the good thing, if we get a year down the road and we decide we don't want to do this, then we tell them that and we pull out. It's off the table. So at that point, we don't pay anything else and we just don't move forward.
Why we're in this, okay. That's good.
Do you have anything else?
Yeah, anything else, Jake?
No, I mean, I don't know why we pull out. This is,
I don't think we.
Yeah, I don't know why.
those
we
improvements, we've been talking about this for a couple of years now with Sean.
Yep.
And so those are improvements that need to be made.
Yes,
That road, they've needed those improvements for the last 50 years.
right. Very needed.
So, yeah,
Now,
no, that's a pretty good investment for $11 million,
Yeah, exactly.
175, 200,000.
Yep.
Not bad leverage.
No,
so I've got something connected to this I wouldn't mind bringing up here to you.
please.
You know, if we're gonna redo that whole road up there and that drive and all that in there, I would really like to see us consider redoing Weaver Memorial Park.
Redoing it.
Yeah. Replace the
Entry.
well, the entry's okay, but I wanna
That's
I want to asphalt it and asphalt in there and asphalt the individual camp spots. And I'd like to consider doing new restrooms in there. Those restrooms are okay, but they're old. I mean, they're way old. And I'd like to consider something like that.
I think it would be good to consider it. We have our rustic park up at North Fork.
Yeah,
So to have something a little different, that could be something that'd be good.
well, I'd like to consider it and consider what Todd's done with that cabin up there and everything. I just think this would be a great addition.
No, I think that has to be looked at because we talked about changing the configuration where we put actually a check-in booth there that would check in Memorial or take into account what goes up on the forest. But that's the conversation we had with the forest.
Well, that's
a couple of years ago.
like those
Yeah.
parking things, like where we'll eventually
Yeah.
get to, yeah.
But that gives us a
Kiosk.
chance to generate revenue up there that we have an agreement with the Forest Service.
For the users that come from Davis and Salt Lake
Yeah.
counties. So
Well,
it's not on the back of our Weaver County.
there's really nothing to be done right now today,
No,
but you should have this put in the budget. In next cycle's budget, we ought to put money away to do this.
I'll get some
And
estimates.
yeah, come up with something how to do this. And
yeah,
I'd really like to see that done.
It's a great idea. And then with that would be a little improvement for that area that we talk about for the kiosk, for the parking and that kind of stuff too. We improve that area there too, because there's your, there, that ends up being that's a great idea.
Well, I can tell you, we'll change the way that operates, looks and runs and
Worth it, yeah.
yeah, it's about time we put a little cash into that park. You know, that is a beautiful area down there along the river. And it's much more popular than the North Fork because it's by the river, which a lot of people want to be by. And I suspect that you could significantly increase. Well, of course, it's hard to get above 100%. That's pretty much what that park's at, isn't it?
Yeah, but it'd be a different type of service that we offer. And for that, I'm encouraged.
Well, that Perception Park, which is just up the river from it a little,
Mhm.
you know, the Forest Service made that an ADA park. So you can put wheelchairs in there and bicycles, and it is so stinking popular, you can't ever get in it. Well, I'd like to see something similar right here. You know,
Planning on getting in a wheelchair or maybe a
No.
bicycle though.
yeah, maybe a bicycle.
bicycle around it.
Well, this is really your portfolio, but I'm just telling you, timing couldn't be better.
Looks like there's a second vote, maybe a third.
Maybe a
Yeah.
third.
Scott, any comments on budgets?
So when we originally signed the memorandum of understanding, it committed the county to $375,000. At that time, I allocated $375,000 in our capital projects fund for this. So we already have that money available now. Now, if it's only 200,000, that's fine, but I would suggest we leave the full 375
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
until we know what it's gonna
Just
be.
in
Till,
case.
till we get through it, yeah.
Well, if we have 175 left over, we know where we want to use it.
There you go.
Yep.
Right in upgrading that park.
Yeah.
So that'd be the start of it. And I would hope in next year's budget that we could put 6, 7, 8, 900,000 in there to upgrade this park. You know, the restrooms and everything in there.
It'd be a great idea for people that are going up there to just kind of take that road and split it, move them over to a kiosk and
That's right.
Yeah,
and then they can continue. The only way into there is through that kiosk.
Well, now those roads in there are all dirt.
I get it.
Once you get past the parking
Well,
lot,
I'm
it's all
thinking
dirt
about it,
down
top
there.
right down through too.
It'd be really nice. You could
There's a
make
big
those
space up
asphalt in there, just really
Yeah.
make it nice.
So several could get in there at the same time. And boy, that'd be super good. It's so popular. It's amazing to me how popular that's become. I didn't have wow, it's busy up there. It's amazing. A lot of people come from Salt Lake just to go up there, paddleboard.
Gary or Ashley, on the engineering for the culvert replacement or the roads, any comments?
No, I think that captures everything we need to do there.
But you could do that.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay.
Now,
I'll make sure.
we're not
That's why we
doing,
hired Ashley.
well, we're not doing any of the construction or any of the studies. That's all paid for by the federal government in this 11 million.
Yeah,
And we decided they were replacing culverts too, right?
Yes,
yeah.
So they were doing all that too.
Part of
I think
the
they're
grant
gonna-
was they were gonna design
Yeah,
those
yeah.
and whatnot.
they design, they build, they do all the construction, they do everything. So we're out of this. All we do is manage from this end.
We were gonna look at the road widths to make
Correct.
sure,
That 22
We
feet
have
is still
enough
good.
22
Yep.
feet in there.
and then
So-
a culvert replacement. If we needed to get more property or an easement, that was on the. county.
That's correct. Yeah.
When's this gonna start? 2024 now?
2025 federal fiscal year for construction.
What does that mean?
Well,
June of 2025?
So federal,
July?
yeah, federal budget year. is
Mid-year
A
of
little bit different
25.
than the calendar year.
It's
Will you still be here
October
then?
through September.
I will.
This is 2024.
Okay.
It starts October 1. federal budget year.
2024.
Hopefully Gage will be here then too.
Find out.
No, the two biggest issues was the bridge
Yes,
and then the other culvert, a little further east of there, about a half mile east of the bridge. And that culvert's pretty antiquated and I believe it was corrugated metal, if
Yeah.
I'm correct. And so just,
Right.
over time, it just breaks down.
Sure.
So,
Well, we also could use that money for kiosk. We gotta do something with kiosks around Pine View, do some stuff. We gotta get that going.
All right.
And some of those other places, Gage.
that's it.
Any questions on this?
No,
So this is on your agenda tomorrow.
Yeah, so we'll
Okay, no
approve
questions.
that.
Yeah, no, I'm
No
okay.
questions for me, Mr. Chair.
That's good, same here. All right.
I'm good.
Hey, so Scott, as soon as this is approved, we want to get that fund transfer going. So do you have any issues with that agreement or?
Once the agreement's done, I just need a payment request, send me a memo,
Okay.
just like you normally do, just send please pay.
Okay.
And tell me who you want me to pay,
Perfect.
any numbers you want me to reference.
Okay, very good.
you guys are ahead of schedule. Our appointment said 1:30 and we come up, I feel like.
Well, we're
late for the
pretty,
party.
we're pretty fast.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
You guys
I
are
mean,
efficient.
we're about 15, 16 minutes ahead and if we have a recess written down here.
You got recess at 2. Right up.
So why don't we go ahead and recess now and
You told me to bring it up. Oh,
I know,
the
I
use
did.
of that conference room.
Oh, yeah, that's right, so.
Yeah.
Just quick question, I think we talked to you, Commissioner Jenkins, a little bit about, right now, or no, maybe it was you, or, we thought, behind the commission chambers, you have that where you have your closed session. Right now, I guess we want some guidance on, right now, Melissa has her group coming in and doing, like, the family case studies and stuff, they utilize that. But that's why we built the Center of Excellence downstairs, was for them to use that. With us moving the camera guy deal down into that area, we'd like her kind of out of there. She's, every once in a while we have some, she's in there when we're trying to do Bryce's office
Sure.
next to there and stuff, but they're really pushing back on utilizing that space. I don't think that's the space that we should warrant or grant her, but just wanted what your
so
thoughts.
can she go down into her office now that she's got an office there?
There's room. They just don't like them all down there, but that's why we built their space. So I mean, I guess that's what, we didn't feel like we could tell her, too bad, go do that. So we're here, I guess.
I thought we already agreed to move the TV guy down there.
We are, yep, and that's
But that's in the closet, so it still leaves that out there where
Wow.
they utilize for things, but it's always, there's gonna be, issues there.
there are probably other places that make more sense. If they'd like to schedule a room, I think
They
that makes.
They could skip
Well,
the
sense.
312, or they could do anything, but.
They could go to the one where the WACOG meets.
That's true, yep, they could go back
They
there.
could always go in there.
Right,
Yeah, there's better space for her to move to.
Sure.
I'd like to see her operate out of her own space first.
That's what I
Right.
was first thinking.
You know.
too, so.
She's got plenty of. room
All
down
right,
there.
so I'll talk to Melissa about that, okay?
okay,
Then she's either got to go to her own space or out to schedule.
yeah,
Behind
just have her,
where WACOG
just have her
meets.
schedule. That's what we make everybody else do,
Yeah.
Mhm.
so.
And then Sean, is this a time to talk about the 80,000 to 160,000 for the
Sure,
remodel?
yeah, we can bring that
I
up.
mean, it's kind of an administrative item, but I think if commissioners are okay with that.
Yeah,
We're good right here.
Go ahead.
To you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Scott.
Sean, you want
Or
to?
Sean.
I'll
whoever.
let Bill handle that one.
So when we originally were looking at this place for the public defenders here on the first level, we originally we were thinking we could do that for around 50,000-60,000, but that was before we put the door in. But it went from 12 offices to 14 offices, a conference room, a break room, cubicles, a wall.
Yeah, a lot bigger.
So basically, yeah, we got all the numbers kind of back with the thing, and Woodbury's we're gonna extend the lease to 3 year, and they're gonna cover the cost of the exterior door. We'll just do it and then utilize it, whether in lease payment, or we can collect on that anyway. They says, whatever you like, we want us to write a check, we can do whatever, but anyhow, it went from 80,000, well, Scott, we figured 60, 80, Scott always figures in the contingency. We're about $160,000 for that whole thing, and that's not even including the furniture, like the outfit it with desks and everything. That's just the construction of everything.
That doesn't surprise me. That thing grew You could see it coming when they started going down, making the L and going down there and filling it all in.
But,
It just grew.
with that, and, yeah, with all the ADA stuff, we're gonna have to replace some concrete outside, there's a bunch, but. You know, the question is. That has to have to do with how we fund that, but then that's not also included. Whatever we do to, which we're gonna have a conversation a little bit later about the chamber moving and opening up the attorneys into the chambers area and finishing those offices, that's not even part of that. So we'll need to come up with probably another 60 grand for that. Just to make it.
60 or 160?
Well, just to add those offices and to make, and to do a few things to start moving into that.
Downstairs, you're not using Dover construction, are you?
We're using Weaver County construction.
Okay.
Yeah,
So any project over $100,000, we normally fund out of our capital projects. Because this was $80,000, we stuck it just in property management's budget,
Right.
didn't put it in capital projects. What I would propose to do is pull out the $80,000, less any money they've already spent, out of property management's budget, stick it back into capital projects, and then add a total of $250,000 for the $160,000 remodel plus the $60,000 second floor remodel plus about a 10.5, 10-12% contingency fund. So that's why I'm rounding it to $250,000. I would
So
fund that.
At a capital project.
Yeah, so we put it in capital projects.
Right.
And how I'd fund it is we have a little bit of money that's still left over from the parking structure. We had allocated 4 million. We only spent 2.6 now. And then we had a teeny bit of money left over from the Center of Excellence, like $16,000. I was going to sweep that in there as well and just put that 250,000.
Smart. Come on.
Yeah.
You gotta
I'm good
So
with
the
that.
Center of Excellence, she really wanted to try to keep that money.
Well, it's capital. I mean, the
Not
reason why
hers.
we do capital projects money is not the departments. It's capital projects to manage. It's not for her to take the rest of it and use it for grants or for other stuff like that. She also wants, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, she wants to use the housing money she didn't spend and roll that over. And that's more appropriate to roll over from department.
Over than this.
Yeah, but like the sheriff's office, if they were to
Okay.
come under
I didn't
budget,
realize that. Yeah, you're right. Under capital, that makes no sense. that
Yeah,
we
it
would
it
do
needs to
that.
stay in capital project.
I agree with that. Okay,
to cover overages.
sure.
Like this. So if you're okay with that, commissioners, I'll put
I'm okay with
250,000
that.
in the Weaver Center remodel and that's all.
You got it.
And then we still,
count
the attorneys will have to come in and figure out what they're gonna do to supply their office furniture and stuff. We'll then figure that out, but
So, I mean, they're just.
we'll
gonna come
help
back
put them
and
together,
ask.
put it together and.
Well, when we decided to go into Indigent Defense, we made a few decisions on that. One of them was the fact that they gotta have desks to sit behind.
Yeah, gotta house them.
We funded the Indigent Defense desks. It's the attorney's office expansion we didn't fund, right?
Yeah.
So that's, they're gonna have to
Public
come back.
defenders.
So public defenders, we've already funded their furniture,
Oh, you
All the
did?
furniture.
but
I
not,
didn't know they did.
but not the attorney's office.
Oh,
Does that
Oh, so
make
we've
sense? So
got
the
the public
attorney's
defenders
expanding behind, yeah, we already put in like $20,000.
Wow.
so Jim
Okay.
Metallic was looking for a desk earlier today.
I was gonna say, we gotta just buy that, cause it's gonna be here permanently.
Okay.
Duncan's got it.
Yeah, but you wanna make
He does.
sure.
Duncan's got a desk because he's gonna replace this one with Christie's, and so he's got a desk out there with a credenza.
That would be great.
Maybe you ought to get Duncan's for today,
For sure.
and then you can make sure that when you order furniture there, that it all matches.
Yeah, he just needs something temporarily. Yep. I-
Yeah, you could get that for now, and then
That's a
when
nice thing,
you
yes.
order the
Okay.
furniture, it'll all match.
Great. And just so everyone's aware, Jim Metallic is going to be where Melissa was and where Bill is right now. Bill's moving. He's going in there temporarily until the first floor is done.
Okay.
Bill's going in
Bill is going down to the first floor, but
in the triangle.
yes, in the triangle, but then Jim Metallic will go down to the first floor once.
Well, and that'll be for, what, 6 months?
Probably,
Yeah.
He's not here long. Then we'll have an empty office up here.
correct.
Oh, that, it's been empty for
Uh-huh.
6 months now.
It'll be back empty.
Good.
Bill's gonna stay in the triangle.
Yes.
That's what I told him. what
That's
she
right.
told me.
Yep.
Were you guys able to get those lights and switch and
The
everything?
only
done
thing they're
already?
waiting on trying to get the lights, which they're just trying to get them here. Right now, they don't have any.
Did they
installed.
get the internet and everything?
Well, that's the other thing. Terry just needs to hook it up. They've got, yeah,
They're getting close.
it's there, yeah. They
Good,
got it cleared out and did everything they could, just waiting for Terry to patch it in and.
right?
So, yeah, we're ready for him to start hauling stuff down.
He's doing it.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
He's been doing it all morning.
Oh, good. Okay,
Moving out, has he? All right.
good.
Who's moving out?
Phil,
The
Oh,
the
Phil,
camera guy.
the green screen. He
Right.
wants us in there more too.
TV guy.
I said Commissioner Jenkins likes doing these commentator things, color commentator.
Okay. Great.
Okay, that's it.
Good. Sehr good. Sehr good.
So 2 o'clock is Jennifer and Marty. You want to recess for a few minutes till they get
10
here?
minutes.
How come it's
10
got
minutes?
recess?
It's recessed because it's an administrative, it's not a work session item,
Okay,
so they just stuck it in your break.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I got up there.
so it's not an action item.
Well,
I'll be back.
Are you gonna be here for that?
I am gonna be here for that. I think it'd be fine to leave it as a work session item because I do think it relates to budgets.
Hey, I got another question for you too. I got one more thing too. Mr.
Go
Chair.
ahead.
Why Scott Parks here? May I
You may.
pose, may I pose on your time, Commissioner Faur?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Help yourself.
Okay. So I'm gonna go to the Commissioner Jenkins' favorite
Oh,
subject,
geez.
Favorite what?
favorite topic, favorite subject.
Okay.
We, during our budget cycle in 2021 for 2022, we did some one-time funding. We didn't do ongoing funding. We did some one-time funding for $42,000 for the magazine, Connection Magazine. I'm happy to report. Are you done?
Go ahead.
I'm happy to report that this year that we'll only likely spend $22,358 of that $42,000. But
That
the,
is good news.
hold on, but it rolls in the contract with them. The problem is the contract rolls like from May to April, so it'll roll into 2023. So we'll have money in 2023. How that goes. But the magazine has been accepted so well, and they're doing so well that they'd like to expand it to another 15,387 homes along the South Rim, which would be South Ogden, Washington Terrace, Riverdale, and Uinta. I think it's a pretty good idea. It would add a one-time startup programming cost of 15,387. And then this year's funds would be 13,540, bringing the total to 51,275.
How much
51,275.
per year?
51,275 for this year. It would, after that, it would be $15,000 less. And so it would end up being about 35,000 a year to do all of that. So my hope is that with the 42,000, we have some one-time funding that we put away, that we have $15,000 in a miscellaneous budget. I'd like to add to that 42,000, 9275, and do this project along the south. That would take that so that we're doubling the exposure of that magazine. It would be as out in the south, as out in the west, as it's focusing on the west. Out south, it would focus more of the local news and things out to the south. So my request is that I could get both of your support for the magazine to increase our distribution up more. I will tell you that since our magazine initially started, we started with about 14,000 copies going out west. Because of the growth alone and the acceptance of the magazine, it's nearly to 17,000 copies after just 1 year. That's a pretty significant growth, nearly 20%. Pretty happy about that. So it's been okay. That's my presentation, Mr. Chair.
Good. Well, this is gonna be between you and Gage. You know that.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
You even didn't like the Center of Excellence, how wonderful that was? You said, this is really wonderful.
It was
That's exactly
wonderful.
what you said.
Huh?
So how do we decide who gets the magazine now?
They do it on, basically their list is people who buy commodities. People who go out, they don't send it as much to trailer parks,
Okay,
or am I only guessing? Or they send it to people who, they have another list of people that are buying.
Okay,
People who are active, people who do stuff, not just wildflowers. So that's why not every single household gets it.
Okay.
That way they can control their cost and control their distribution.
so
Those
what's
costs-
your timeline on this?
We spend $1.32 per household per year, getting them 6 issues of the magazine. That's all we spend. So it costs us about 20 cents a month per household. You know, and I'm saying, let's do some more. That gets what we want
Well, it
out.
comes every other month, right?
Comes in the
So,
odd months.
yeah, so it'd really be 80-some cents.
Well, it's $1.32 per household per year.
Oh, well, okay,
Per year.
it'd be less than that then.
That's a pretty good number. I like that number better than the 51,000.
Well, that's the same number. There's just a one-time programming
Yeah.
expense.
I'm with you.
You know, that's why it's a $15,000 to add all the programming in to get it all up there. That's the problem. Otherwise, we'd still be under budget.
Right.
But as we grow, there's expenses associated with growing.
Where are we taking this money from?
So in the commissioner's budget, there's $15,000 of contracted services line that we haven't allocated to a specific contract. We've been pulling it from there. So this would be an administrative action because it's within the commission budget. We would just move it from contracted services unallocated to contracted services, your connection magazine. So it'd be that, but then it's only one-time funded. So next year we would have this, or in the budget cycle, we'd have the same conversation again. Do we want to fund it one more year? Or do you want to fund it ongoing? That would be.
What I would also do, I think I would tell him, hey, look, if we do it, we'll do it, but I want the contract. I want to dissolve the contract at the end of the year. And we'd have to, then his contract with us would be January through December. So because this is one-time funding, it doesn't make sense for us to obligate into 2023 unless we approve it in our budget cycle. I know we have contracts that aren't, you know, they're like a fiscal year type, like one we just heard, fiscal year contracts, but I'd like to get, there's no reason we can't align this budget more closely with our budget.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, do you got Scott's vote?
No, I'm not gonna get Scott's vote.
Yeah,
He's still-
nothing's
He has a
changed
point,
there.
he has a point to prove.
No, it's not a point. My opinion still hasn't changed. This is a reach too far. I mean, we do lots of other things to get information to our citizenry. And I just don't have any interest in this. Now, you know, your argument is well, that it's good, it creates some good advertising. People, there are some who like this. I'm not in love with it. It's okay. I'm just not in love with it. And yeah, I just do not spend the money.
It's another way for us to get our message into the homes of people, not the
Absolutely.
standard examiner's message or, you know, the other. So.
Well, I like that portion of it. I'm not ready to say yes yet. I'm not ready to say no yet.
Well, you want to steal on it for a week or two?
Yeah,
Great.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Bring it back up in a week or two.
I will.
I'd probably like to get a little bit more inside information as far as, you know, public perception. You know, I understand the numbers you gave me, but are we getting
value?
value from the public? I mean, I know what we're getting out there, but are we getting it back? I get these magazines in once a week or twice a week, and guess what? 90% of them go right in the can. So, but again, I understand people probably a little different than me, and maybe they take the time to read it. But I need to see the value.
I do the same thing with the news, you know, I get a lot of it's funny, my kids told me, Dad, years ago, they told me, Dad, you're gonna be more selective in where you decide you're gonna spend your time getting your information. Boy, and has that been correct?
Yeah.
I might open up the Standard online and look at a couple of things, and I look at the obituaries, then I go to KSL, and then I go to either news from Facebook or news from Instagram or other places. I'm very careful where I get my news.
See, I don't go to hardly any of those. I don't
You
ever
go to
to
you
KSL.
go
The
to,
newspaper.
no, you also go to, the Enterprise magazine
Oh, I
and,
read that religiously.
and you have one other one
Yeah, it's
too.
newspaper.
There's another periodical that you read,
Oh, that Epic Times,
Epic Times.
but that's national news. You know, as far as local news.
But no,
it's-
but you get my point. Where,
Yeah.
where you're spending your discretionary time
Yeah.
getting news. Yeah, I read something the other day.
I love that Epic Time. I read that cover to cover.
Anyway. Okay, that's great. I'm meeting with these people again. You know, I just had it in here. I've had it in here for a couple weeks. And I thought, I gotta get this out. So thanks for making time
You
for me
bet.
to do it.
All right, well, Marty and Jennifer should be out there, so.
Hey, Commissioner, just one last thing. North Ogden Divide, I sent you an email about
Yeah.
rockfall up there. So just, you can think about that. We'll meet in a week with all our division directors. We can talk more about it.
We got
So,
rocks
you know,
falling again. I thought
yeah,
that-
we do, but-
Well, we always have little rocks falling out, but there's a guy who's driving that saying, well, I own a company that goes up and does this kind of stuff, and I think you got a lot of liability up there, so you should hire us to come take those rocks down.
He can cure
Well,
us.
so, you know, when we had this remodel done up there, I thought some of that was gonna be done.
We did do some of it. We took down some of the bigger
Yeah,
rocks that we thought were problems. And Joe said they weren't ever going to be problems, but we did it anyway.
How does he know about liability?
This guy,
Is he a lawyer?
no, he's a contractor.
He's a contractor.
yeah, they just
Sounds
wanna,
good.
they wanna scare you. That's what they do.
Just tell him this.
Yeah, I read this email.
Okay.
that they got.
Tell him we've been thinking about limiting that road to 12,000 pounds.
There you go.
And if he wants to get here from there, he's likely gonna have to go up over Monty and down through Bear Lake and that way. Is that a good answer?
I like that answer.
All right, so Sean, send Marty in, would you please, on your way out?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
While they're walking in, commissioners, I didn't receive any feedback on the ARPA review questions. Are you okay if we start going through the projects?
Please, I thought you were.
Yeah, as far as
Well,
I
we
was
were gonna wait till
concerned.
this week because we had too much to do last week anyway,
Okay.
so this.
I
week-
didn't really have
Oh.
any new questions to ask. And so, I mean, look, I might have changed the wording on some of those, but not enough to
Okay,
worry
we'll
about.
start going.
But yeah, I think you're okay.
Yeah, I'd say go with it.
Okay. That is the plan.
Hey, good, how are you guys? Staff, how are you?
Martis?
That's good. Well, okay. Next up is CPNR budget and personal changes.
So,
Jennifer, you're listed.
yeah, we
is
have
that-
been working with Todd, Cassie, and Duncan on our side. And we started by, we've been having struggles with our personnel and just getting staffed up, working some people too many hours. And so we started with those guys by saying, what do you guys need? Where are we at? We even listened to Sarah, who talks about trying to find what helps motivate our employees, and overworking them is not one of those things. So we came up with some plans. We looked at what we had in our budget versus what we think we need in our budget. Cassie has been sitting on about 7 vacancies that when she did have them out, she just was not getting qualified applicants. The same was true at a couple of key positions at the Golden Spike. And Todd had a part-time merit position vacant in the entire 2021, just was not getting any bites. on it.
Nobody would.
No,
for that
nobody
wage.
qualified. So we got with Sarah. She looked over our plan. She was okay with what we had first proposed for the conference center and for Parks and Recs. She pushed back a little bit on us on the Golden Spike. So we went back and reevaluated those things and came up with a plan that she was happy with. Then we got with Scott and Stephanie, and Scott said to us, okay, well, for these funding changes, you guys try to come up with half of it by looking at your revenues. You guys just increased your ordinances, your fee ordinances. Take a look at that. So we got back with the division directors and we looked at that. We've provided Scott and Stephanie the line items that we feel comfortable in trying to fund half of the ask. What we kind of need from the commission now, you two have, we've talked with both of you two about it. I don't know that Scott's been brought into the loop yet. But the final approval on that in the change, in the form of a budget change, if you have anything to add to that, Scott.
No, so we, you two were on the text message,
Right.
that picture with Jennifer Marty and,
Oh, geez.
serving at the, yeah.
I'm gonna
Dunkin'
be
serving-
sending that to you at the whole fest where everybody, all our top people were serving at the whole fest. Okay, good.
Yep.
Couple weekends.
So we went back and we just said, okay, there's a lot of proposals out here. Here's the actual plans. We ran them, Steph ran them through, did the calculation of them. And so we have the actual budget changes here that we would, if you guys are in favor of this, we would want you to sign before we actually process these personnel changes. So for the OECC, it's going to cost us nearly $64,000.
And what do these changes do?
If you want, you can explain it probably better than I can.
So we have a couple, like, for example, we have.
Explain the problem, but you didn't really explain what the changes are gonna make.
Okay, so like, for example, in the operations area, we have had an ops tech position and an ops supervisor position that have both been vacant. One is a part-time merit and one is a full-time merit. We want to combine those two salaries so that we're able to offer a little bit higher wage. That particular instance is, that's actually changing our org chart a little bit, because especially as we move into a $5.8 million remodel, Gary Griffith, who tries to handle all tech services and operations, can't do it all. And I think that's why we're falling down some. That's part of the reason we're falling down some on the operations. Besides the fact that Ryan Westover is, okay. We have two Ryans that we work with a lot. Ryan Westover is pretty much a one-man ops band over there right now. So that is going to bring somebody in at a little bit higher wage that can help with that remodel and help kind of get that department up and running and hopefully get some vacancies.
But to add to that, back to the Gary portion of it, it's ongoing because Gary's just, he can't do both sides of that job. So we wanted to push him to tech, AV. He's the one that runs all the websites over there, et cetera. We've talked about that before. So this person would be kind of a manager in that other side of that department.
And with the increasing need for all of that AV and the tech support,
It's a lot, yeah.
it's become more. We need to make some bumps to the housekeeper wage. That's a couple of those here. We've got 1, 2, 3 of those. We need one more theater tech. We need a full-time theater tech person. Hayden.
I can't believe how busy that theater is.
Hayden is the only full-time, and then we have about 3 or 4 part-timers. One of the gentlemen has been so ill that he hasn't worked for probably almost a year. And we have to maintain them below 19 hours a week. The problem that we're finding is that if they can get a gig someplace else, like say 3 weekends in a row, they'll take that gig and ditch us. So we're wanting to get another full-time theater. We need to increase the wage of the banquet supervisor just a little bit. Right now, you know, we have Cpnr who's there, and Cpnr, and in fact, I've had Stephanie pull some OT reports for me as I've tried to look at tracking how much overtime some of these employees are making. We had one employee that I think it was just before the end of the year, he was at about 15,000 in overtime. So increasing the wage of a banquet supervisor to try and get it filled so that Cpnr has somebody to help her get through those long weekends and long days. And then the last thing is just a small increase in the banquet server wages. I don't remember what the exact amount is, but it looks like it's about a $2,600 per position increase. And
So
that,
they just got $2, right?
Mhm.
And they just got their, I could see a COLA at the end of the year.
These are, a lot of these are empty positions that no one's applying for.
Right, the vacant position.
That like the housekeeping one.
Well, I know, but the amount we allocated to them is still there.
Yeah, so they would be going from $16.38 to $17.50. And that $16.38 already included the $2 plus the 3% or whatever.
Mhm.
And so you buy in on this, they need this, huh?
They can't get anybody to help them now.
Okay, that's.
I mean, that,
That pretty much
that's the
answers the
argument,
question,
yeah.
don't it?
Like, we can't get
Well,
qualified.
How many of those are vacant?
So,
Most of them on the
you know,
Mm.
I have this issue at Great Western. We're after the same people, you and I. You want a little more highly technical skilled than me.
For some of them.
So, you know, we've done a couple things to allow our people. Number one, I pay my guys religiously overtime. And you know, encourage it. And so all my guys get about 5 hours a week, about an hour a day extra. And if they're on the truck, we allow them to eat a sandwich in the truck while they're driving. And we pay them overtime.
Don't clock out.
Yeah, they don't clock out. And so
Right.
they get an hour overtime with that. And that's relatively small, but it keeps them there because they get an hour. And then, you know, if they work any extra, the law says we have to pay them overtime, right?
Right.
So we do that religiously, and we don't feel like it beats them up. And most of them want a little overtime because it allows them to get a few $100 extra. You pay that?
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
willing to,
yeah.
and we are willing to, and you know, we try to do the things like when there's extra banquet food or whatever, we try to feed the staff instead of just throwing away. So we try to,
Yeah.
you know, appease that way. It's just like this Ryan, for example, he
He can't get to all of his projects.
can't.
He's the
Yes.
guy with 15,000 in overtime. He's a one man. I
Yeah.
mean, he has a couple of part timers that come in at night just to, you know, man the events and lock up at the end of the night, right there.
He's a hard worker.
But like, he's the only facility guy there.
Really?
Yeah.
And he's doing all your IT stuff.
No.
That's scary.
Gary.
Gary's
Well,
not.
what's this guy doing?
Ryan he's in engineering, so he's supposed to be maintaining the building systems and, you know, helping with the opening of the building and the lighting and all that stuff, but right now he tends to spend too much time doing real
Parking for
menial,
events.
like he'll sometimes have to run out and run the arm to let the cars in, which is just a
Or empty
non-efficient
garbage
use.
cans or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, just stuff that.
Well, I
Less.
suspect this will make no difference what we're doing right now. Did you read the Enterprise where it says we're at one, or the paper?
1.7.
Well, yeah, 1.7,
Yeah.
1.7, that's just ridiculous.
It is
There is
ridiculous.
no employment to be had,
We just, you know,
employees.
we've got,
Well, we're hoping, for example, to your point, Commissioner, is that with the job we're creating, it's enough to attract a skilled person. That we're kind of roping in
Right.
some of it and making one job that pays enough that one person is willing to do.
and help with the remodel, and we're
Yeah.
looking at a
You know,
grade
This is
20.
tough.
Stuff, yeah, I mean,
This is really hard right now.
but- and Sarah's bought off on this, right?
Yes, Sarah has. In fact, like I say, she pushed back on us a little bit on some of our golden spike.
Right.
And I got with her after we took off what she suggested to us and said, hey, this is where we're going. And she just responded, okay, thanks. So,
All right.
Well, I hope it solves your problem. I'm kind of like Scott. I'm not sure it will. but-
we're not
Commissioner was
sure.
taking the
It's
people
in
so
it.
we could hire. them.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
I don't know, I'm just
It's
kidding.
not gonna hurt you, and we've got to start making some changes, doing something toward the proactive here, so.
Well, if you would have told me, 3 years ago, that housekeepings that were making 11 and 12 are at 16 and 17.
Yeah,
But the hotels, we work with the hotels all the time, they're in the same boat.
oh, I'm sure they are.
Sure.
They can't get housekeepers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that doesn't surprise me.
Well, and we have so much that even Cassie is capable of doing. She wants to try and get some more grants going. But there again, she has no help because she has so many vacancies. And so she'll be there 14 to 16 hours a day, just so somebody will stay there and lock up the building. It's just, we're burning,
We're gonna burn
some
that.
of them, they're burning the candle at both ends. So,
And I worry about that. This is hard, really hard what we're doing right now. And, but you know, we just had the attorneys walked out of here. And, Morgan just lost their attorney to Davis County. Last year, we lost three to Davis County. And, that's what's happening, you know, they're just raising their prices and
And IT's losing people,
Yeah.
like Quinn was saying, and
this is hard, really hard right now.
1.7% is no one.
That's right.
That's not even the unemployable. That's just, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah. Anybody who will show up can get a job.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you don't even have to show up.
So I'm with you, Marty. I'm not sure what that even is. I don't know how you measure that low.
2.5 used to be, the then employable was
3.7 is full employment.
yeah.
Well, I was, when we went to school, they taught us 4.2.
4.2 was always the
Yeah.
number.
Yeah, it was a full employment.
Mhm.
Because everybody below that didn't want a job anyway.
Right.
Well, in the federal government, full employment is 5.2. It said in the paper.
Yeah.
So we all look at it just a little bit different. But 1.7, that's nuts.
Yeah.
well, and it's so funny because we can have one job, a social media job, a part-time social media job at the Golden Spike advertised 37 applicants. A building service worker with some supervision over event staff, 1 person.
Yeah,
So-
everyone wants to be a social media.
Everybody
digital-
wants to do,
That's where we're at in this world. It's
Millennial-
true. Social media. I mean, that's just the generation.
Yeah, it is.
It's true.
So, Tina Matthew was telling us the time before last, when we advertised, we got like 20 or 30 people for those 911 jobs. But last time we interviewed, you remember, Gage, wasn't it like, it was close to 100?
Close to 100, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so something changed.
No,
You think it's the romance of the TV that show they're watching like NCIS or
Now,
911?
not too
or-
many of those get qualified, but at least the.
Yeah,
Well, no one wants to be a housekeeper.
and we do
No.
find,
that's true.
we do
No.
find a lot that people are not responsive when you try to reach out to them to see about an interview. So it's almost like they're just going through the process, maybe for an
Emotions.
Keep their
unemployment check
unemployment.
or
Well, I think a
something.
lot of that, they're just keeping on, we had a position open up at my place. And I think they had like 30 or 40 applications for a basic reception job. When it came down to it, only like 3 or
Right.
4 were even serious about taking the job.
Right,
Yeah, most won't even take your
Really?
call
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
So after, what they do, just have a resume ready and they just send it in?
Yeah, just so
Yeah.
they could say, hey, they can go to the state unemployment and say,
So
I
they-
sent my resume here.
You
I
have
had
to
an
show you've applied for so many times a week, right?
Yeah,
Or
they just
whatever.
have to show that they made an effort to get a job,
but then they
Well, I
don't call
tell
you
you.
back,
but they don't really want one.
or they'll set an interview appointment and not show up.
Yeah, no, that's,
Yeah,
It happens.
that's what we're seeing is no one showing up, no one answering the call back.
yeah, especially to be a housekeeper.
Yeah,
It's getting tougher and tougher. Well, where's all these illegal aliens? You can't hire one of them?
no.
Because supposedly they're out there.
Well,
He's joking.
Well, aren't they?
He's joking, no.
No, we got
Don't
2
hire
million,
them.
2 million of them that come across the border last year and they're here doing something.
We do the E-Verify,
E-Verify.
and we have to do that within 3 days of employment, so
Do ya?
they have to be legal. We have to check that.
Okay,
They gotta be
that's
legal.
good to know. So
Yeah.
we don't ever even entertain illegals.
No, we wouldn't.
No,
We
We
can't even get we've had a couple temporary, workplace service. I can't even think forces working for us, and they can't even fill the jobs that we need.
yeah, on that note, Jen just brought up, for the big authors event for Ogden School Foundation's big dinner, we need about 40 servers to do that 1,200 person. We ordered like 35 temps and got 3 from the temp service.
Really?
They can't
That's all you
even,
got was 3 out of 35?
yeah. That's why we went to we worked with Sarah and everybody, we start using the youth groups at the high school and give them a charitable donation. Because the temp services cannot fulfill orders.
Well, the high school thing,
How would you
what I
like to
heard
have-
was working out pretty
It
well.
is, it is.
Scott, how would you
For
like
that
to go work your
instance,
counter
yes,
every day?
yes.
Because none of your guys showed up.
Oh, I didn't. Used to do it all the
When
I
it
time.
know,
comes
but I
to
mean,
like
even now.
event setup
Yeah.
and tear
No, it
down,
was tough.
not so much, but definitely banquet serving.
The bank,
ticket-
yeah, I mean, and that's great for the
Yeah, because
kids.
that's the hour between after school and bedtime. We're
Yeah.
talking about the daytime, the
Yeah,
overnight,
no.
the
Yeah, you're not gonna use that group for,
No.
right.
to
We-
set up. but-
Yeah, we use them
But they did a pretty good job
They did.
on that one event that we went to, where we
Yeah.
had I think it was the Ogden High kids,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Or anyway,
Yeah.
They did a couple over the holidays.
Scott said he might be willing to start serving for us.
I'll send my son. He's looking for a job now. He's a high schooler though.
It's
You can get $13 an hour at Walmart to start.
yeah.
how much
$13 an hour
at Walmart?
at Walmart.
I started carrying my cards around just to hand them to people, to give me good service. Hey, listen, I got great jobs at the conference center at the Golden Spike. You gotta apply. Here's the deal. I'm
Speaking
told
of
bird
that,
dog
you
and
gave
all
me
the
a
time.
name of a person to call and I called her and left her a message and never did hear back. So
That's been a while.
Sue,
Sue, what last name?
that Richard signed,
Oh,
just so you know.
great,
What
okay.
do you think?
Well, it's not easy. I mean, that's just fact of life.
Well,
Well, it's tough right now.
It's life.
we appreciate you listening to us. We were just, I think.
Well,
Scott, we just came here to
1.7.
get the-
I don't know, it sounds to me like you've not left a stone unturned. So
We're trying, I
I'm
mean,
supportive of
Trying to
this.
get creative is what we're trying to do.
No, you've made your argument.
Jen, mine had a stroke.
So Scott, I think needs official signatures, commissioners. That's why we're.
So we
Sure.
prepared 3 separate budget changes, one for each department. So I don't know who wants to sign them. We just need 2 of you.
I'll sign.
Why don't you two
I mean,
sign
it
it?
kind of goes
Not my
against
portfolio.
every fiber of
Coach
Marty's
Parkin, right?
being to come and ask for more funding.
Yeah, Commissioner, just so you know, raising,
Look.
not that we don't want to pay people what they're worth, but rising costs gives me heartburn, like. That's just-
We understand, but we've got these venues, we've got to operate them.
Marty and I
What we
joke,
gotta do is not have any more like a shotgun range.
Marty and I kind of joke
Oh,
back and
Marty.
forth because his philosophy is put him on salary and work him to death.
That always works
And-
great for me.
Well, they used to work great, but it doesn't
No,
work
they don't.
anymore.
No,
No,
I'm not sure you're gonna get any more that way.
no.
in fact, so many now, if you put them on salary and hire them, they don't want to come. They want to sit
Right.
home, get on a computer and work.
Well, and now it has to be pretty much a desk job under the rules to even let
Yeah.
that happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they know you only work them 40, so.
Yeah, this is hard. You know, really, when you hope to get something unusual here, you're hoping to get a temp at 29 hours or somebody you can pull out of retirement. You can talk into coming serving a little bit. And there used to be a few moms or a few people out there who wanted part-time job, a little bit of extra money. They do that kind of stuff. But now, frankly, there's so much extra money floating around. Those people all just stay home.
It's true. I mean, in particularly under COVID, the elderly, we could use for some of those positions that they
Yeah.
just stopped
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah, they just stopped coming. No, that's absolutely right.
Retired, I should say.
I have a
Somebody
lady
elderly,
that
yeah.
I,
Maybe it's a better way to put it. Elderly's retired, right?
We'll just say retired.
Sometimes.
We'll just say retired.
Okay,
Legal
retired.
retired employee.
Retired.
I have a lady I'm associated with and she's 61. And when COVID hit, she just went home.
Yeah,
And she didn't have to, but her parents are there and
yeah.
close enough. She's living on their retirement and she says, well, when I get mine, when I'm eligible, I'll just get it. And I told her the other day, I says, you're the exact people we're talking about. You just went home and just left the workplace.
Yeah.
When you really had 5 to 7 more good years ahead of you.
Well, she just said, look, I've done enough. I've served in the planning commission. I've served as mayor. I've served at the Senate. I'm just tired. I don't want to run again. I want to go home. I've done my best trying to get great, qualified, very capable people to stay, but to no
Yeah,
avail.
there are.
How'd that work out for
Just
you?
done that.
Not too good.
Well, I don't know where you
I'm
go.
one, I'm 1 and 1. I got one and I let one got away from me. Couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
Hey, you're batting 50%.
Commissioners, I was just gonna say, so the money's gonna come from our one-time funding that we did not, so we had some ongoing funding in 2022's budget that we did not spend. We spent it one time, not ongoing. So
Right.
this is just going to reduce essentially the amount that we have available next year in our ongoing funds. That's where we're pulling from.
Okay.
And then we're coming up with some.
You guys have done a wonderful job. I mean, when they invest their own personal time and energy like they have.
Well,
And if
and
they're
if-
not there, they're at the circus doing something else, which by the way, Duncan told me today, they did more food and beverage on Saturday at the circus than they did Friday, Saturday, and Sunday last year,
Well, in 2021.
in 2020,
2020.
in 2020.
In 2020?
We didn't have
Yeah.
a circus in 2020.
Yeah, in 2020, it was before COVID. They did more yesterday or this weekend, Saturday, than they did before COVID on all 3 days. They just killed
So a
it,
good
slayed it.
attendance. Huh?
Yeah, I think we had about 5,000 on Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that helps bring the revenues up.
Is that
on the
one
other
show
side.
or two shows?
2 shows on
Two
Saturday,
shows.
1 on Friday, 1 on Sunday.
Two on Sunday.
Two.
And there's 5 shows total,
But
right?
just Saturday alone, I think it was 5,000. So
It's all over
Big crowd.
social media, the
So
circus.
good attendance.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah,
anybody
it
show
was
up at the
pretty.
protest area out there?
In fact,
Friday
They
and
they
Saturday.
defaced some of our steps with chalk. PETA did. PETA ended up.
They
Oh,
didn't-
that's
they
good.
didn't
As
let
long
the
as they're gonna
animals
get
do
you,
shop.
chalk's a good
Like,
thing
yeah,
to
they
get you.
left
in.
their area and came out and, you know,
They had their little signs with little baby
Still though, it's not
elephants.
bad.
no,
Colored on 'em.
no, as long as it's chalk.
Yeah, as long as it's chalk.
Yeah,
it
but chalk
washes
turns
off.
into more. I'd like it sided.
Well, they're gone now. Sorry.
It doesn't matter. It's gonna turn into worse.
Well, I mean, they're,
This
They
is
took a
great.
And we
Sure.
gave them you gave them a wonderful place to protest, right in the middle where people could see them. That was great. They couldn't ask for anything better. For them to take advantage of it though, you give them a little and
They
It
were
is.
only, they weren't there Sunday when I was there. They were there Saturday, but not Sunday.
Well, it's good. Sounds like everything went well.
yeah, it was a good weekend.
The place is a mess, but it was good.
Yeah.
All right, did we answer all your questions, Scott?
All my questions are answered.
Thank you, guys.
Perfect.
Appreciate
you.
what you did.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
folks.
Thanks
You
for
got
coming.
5
And
minutes.
if we can't fill them, we won't spend it.
Oh, yeah.
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 sure.
What I worry about those, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna be able to fulfill your job?
I
You know, I mean, this is tough.
Yeah. We're trying.
All righty then. That is tough now, though, isn't it?
Yep.
Boy,
Yeah, employment. I just can't hardly believe this.
no. I wouldn't have believed it if you would have told me that a year ago.
Yeah. It's getting tough. It is getting tougher and tougher. I mean, I said to Earl Davis the other day, I says, Chivy's got that 2200 out on that red tag sale. I said, if you give me that and $1,000 for Costco, I said, I'll come order a brand new Tahoe right now.
Really?
He said, can't do it.
No kidding.
I says, no kidding.
Why? Just,
He says they won't allow him to. They can sell, you know, he said, if you've been out in my lot right now, he says, we've got almost no new cars.
Yeah.
And we can only get so many, and so there's no sense of selling them cheap.
no, they've got. I remember, well, you remember 2 or 3 years ago, I used to go by these car lots, they were just stacked with cars.
Stacked. Well, and you can always, when things are on sale, you can always get
Yeah.
8,000-9,000 off of
You
MSRP.
get a little, yeah,
But boy, not now.
So now you're
It's
paying-
straight MSRP,
you're paying full book, yeah.
full
Yeah.
book, all the way. No questions asked.
No.
And you can't really go buy anything out of a lot. You gotta order it because unless you dumb luck out, but.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It was-
Well, so when Sarah says that she went down to the Mercedes dealer and walked out and bought exactly what she wanted and the price was better than a Tahoe,
Yeah,
I don't blame her.
no, can't blame her for that. Boy, I tell you, they don't have any inventory.
Don't they? So they're the same way, yeah?
Same way. But I bought mine and Glory the same time she had one she liked
Uh-huh.
down there. So we took both our existing cars down. They gave us full book plus some.
Huh.
They didn't come down much on, in fact, they came down a little bit on the price because we bought 2, but not much, but they gave us, I probably ended up with 2,000 to 3,000 more per vehicle than, well, I got 2,000 or 3,000 more than I've got offered anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, and it used to be that a Mercedes was a lot more, and that's my point.
Yeah.
They're not a lot more now. They're, in fact, against a Tahoe, what Sarah said, they were cheaper.
They're cheaper. Yeah,
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 I don't know, this is getting tougher and tougher, Gage.
yeah, no, it's crazy.
Well, you know, I used to think that there was one chip in a vehicle. That's what I always thought. There was one chip in a vehicle. Well, come to find out that that's not true.
I think there's several, isn't there?
Oh, there's like 100.
Is there that many?
Yeah, there's a chip for each window, and there's a chip for that runs anything electrical, and there's a chip in there that does all that. And I didn't realize that. I thought,
And everything's electric.
yeah.
Yeah,
And so the chips now, yeah, anyway,
it's a big deal. Yeah,
big deal.
yeah.
Well, I don't know, if I was a manufacturer, I'd figure a way around that quick, because I don't think you're gonna solve that anytime soon.
Now, those chips are all coming out of Taiwan too.
Most
aren't
of them, 80%,
they? Out of Taiwan,
yeah,
right?
are out of Taiwan.
Yeah, that's not gonna,
With Taiwan, they were smart when they tried to corner the market on chips.
yeah. Yeah, they timed that right, didn't they?
You know, when we were over there on that, we got invited over there.
To Taiwan.
When I was in leadership down there, we went over to it. And that was really interesting. We went right out in one of those, I'm trying to think that Micron Technology seemed like it was.
Micron? Yeah,
Anyway,
Yeah.
we went right out in one of those plants there and just to look into to go into the sealed room. So everything in the manufacturing is sealed. Then there's a visiting room and that's sealed off from that. But to go into that room, just to look, we had to get all suited up and
Oh,
masked up.
whited up everything.
Yeah, just
Did
to
you?
walk into there.
Did you?
Yeah, and you know, they got these little itty bitty chips. They ship around about a 12-inch box like that.
Yeah.
And these boxes go around and they sit on a machine and then the outsides come up and that box will go down into the machine and everything happens in there. And then they'll go back in, and it'll come up and that thing will come down and it'll go up in the air and go over, go to the next one and do the same thing.
Really?
And that all is done without the human hands touching it.
So nobody even touches it?
Never touches it.
Wow,
It's the dangest thing I ever seen.
wow.
And I had to believe they could have put out 100,000 a day in there. They were doing so many.
Well, they're still putting out that many, or they slowed down? I thought a lot of it was in the transportation, getting it across.
I can't answer that, bud. All I know is, well, I would have thought they could put on a plane and flown them here
Yeah,
for that much. Anyway, it's amazing to watch.
yeah, this whole supply chain thing just got me baffled, like how. I mean, we know the holdup here.
Yeah.
We know what it is down here in the ports, but it's crazy.
Well, I was watching here a while back and they had, well, it was at the ports. The ports are worse than they've ever been.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, they were talking about having 80 and 90 ships off that LA port. That report the other day said they had 150.
Really?
Yeah, 150 boats there and ships
So
down.
it's gone up.
Yeah, it's gone up.
Last time I heard it was close to 80.
Yeah,
Is this in Long Beach?
yeah. Yeah, off of LA. That's Long Beach,
What are
right?
they sitting there? I heard up to a month. Is that
Oh,
correct?
yeah, I'd heard close to 2 months in some cases.
So I was down there, in December. And normally speaking, from the beach and Huntington Beach and by the pier, you can see way out in the distance, the oil refineries.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't see those.
You ready for it?
It's a parking lot full of ships. All
I'm
you
sorry,
see
Sean,
off
we got
the parking
caught
lot
up here
full of
talking
ships.
and I forgot to call you.
It's amazing. And that was when it was probably 80.
Yeah, well, I was saying the other day, I heard it was up close to 150.
You
now.
said it's almost double.
I thought your presidential pick was gonna fix that problem down there.
I think he's made it a little worse, bud, when it comes right down to it.
I think he has made it a little worse.
I was just telling them, I thought there was one microchip in a car.
Oh, no, 70.
Oh, was it 70? Well, yeah, I heard, there are so many in a car, like on a door, each door has one, and anything electrical has a little microchip.
Do you know how many chips are in a Bobcat skid loader? 142.
Well, there you go, Gage. I didn't know that.
Really?
Yeah, the guy told me that. He says there's about 80 in a car, 142 in a skid loader.
No
Well,
kidding.
there you go.
I couldn't believe that.
Well,
That seems high to me.
so you wonder about these microchips, you know, and what they're causing. This is why. I mean, pretty soon we'll be going back to wind up windows
There you go.
Yeah.
because we can get a car that way.
You know what that
They
is?
don't break.
Well, they break.
All right, everybody, we're back. Our 2:30 is here, and that is talking about the chamber culverts and their this space they take in this building. Bill Ross, Sean Wilkinson, Scott Mendoza. William, are you taking this conversation? You leading it?
Well, this is kind of at the request of Commissioner Frower. We had met, me and Sean had met with
Chuck?
Chuck and we actually, you know, he was real appreciative for what we have. Said Harv gave him a heads up and he knew it was coming. He was really appreciative of everything. We did schedule a time and, you know, because he doesn't have a place to go immediately. So we said, well, the plan is we moved you possibly over here into the juvenile side of the attorneys. So we scheduled the time and went and walked through that.
I told you last week.
He was a little wanting bigger spots and conference and reline some walls, but anyhow, so we just kind of communicated that to Commissioner Frower, but before we get too far down the road, we wanted to talk about their current amount that they pay for a lease space and what that looks like, so.
So how much square footage, what do they have right now?
4,300. I got it right
Yeah,
here.
you have to.
I think I got it.
So 4,300,
I-
that's about the size of your house, right, Jim?
No,
Is that it right there? on the-
go up and down
In
and
the other
everything
space,
else.
the offices works for them, they just would like a bigger conference room, that's their biggest thing, so. But
That'd be.
even if we blow out a wall.
You know,
it's
when they
like-
hold conferences, they're generally early in the morning. Could we share a conference room?
Well, we were telling them that they could lease out either the.
Right.
Back of the commission.
Yeah, back of the
breakout
Yeah, why
commission.
don't you lease that to them?
So they said they have meetings twice, or maybe one meeting a week where they have a bigger group. And that they could lease out the breakout room, just schedule it.
Yeah,
all
early in the
use it.
morning, aren't they
Yeah.
generally? So
Well, one of them would be possibly,
One
if
was,
we
I
had a
think, at
long
11
commission
o'clock.
meeting, it would be, we could, you know, but we didn't think there would be a lot of disruption there.
I don't have it.
Okay.
I thought it was about 4,300.
It's right around 4,000.
okay, well, that's fine.
There should,
4,000 and 45.
so for their little, they have meetings though, where they have 30 people sitting around a conference
Oh,
table.
I've done that before, sat in there and every chair in that room is occupied.
Yes.
At the table and around the outside.
Mhm.
The
And
juvenile,
sometimes there's one or two standing.
yeah, the juvenile space right now does not have a room that
No.
big. So we would need to make some adjustments in there in order to accommodate something
Sure.
like that.
But it's open span. You could do it,
Sure,
right?
we could do it. Yep. So the question is, number one, do we want to accommodate any of those expenses on the county's dime? Just to make sure they move over there and we get the attorneys where we want them. Number two, Commissioner Frower said, if they're gonna be in this building, they're gonna pay market rate. And so that's the other discussion that we need to have, because currently they pay like $1,000 a month and then they give us 2 passes or 2 memberships into the chamber every year. So that's all they're paying right now.
Platinum memberships.
Yes.
So they are
that's-
nice. We get to go golfing for one, or we get to do other
Yep.
things, but
That's the
I don't know.
discussion.
Yeah, that's a discussion to have.
And so kind of,
You know, now that you mention that though, I rarely see Ogden City at the chamber stuff. Although they keep Tom on their board, your cousin,
They do, really?
that Tom.
Yeah, Uncle C, we call him.
Uncle C.
so if you're looking at lease, we, with our 3-year lease agreement, we were still about 1950, 1925 with Woodbury for what we're leasing.
It was 17 on the first one.
Oh, I thought it was
And I don't know
19.
what it is on the second.
17 a month?
It's per square feet.
17 a foot.
Oh, 17 per square foot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I thought it was 19. We got them, they came down.
No, I
so
thought-
you know,
I
we're-
don't remember.
oh,
thought it was
nobody's
9.
on here but us.
I thought it was
Yeah,
19.
nope, everybody's
now.
gone.
So I don't know about you guys. I think it's time to pursue buying this. We got the money to do it.
Well, so we had a conversation with Randy
Randy?
last Friday night,
Oh, did you?
Friday afternoon. we talked about the 18,000. And at the end of that conversation, I said, Randy, so we need to sit down here. Once the lease is done, we kind of know where we're going. We had a meeting with the church that same day. I said, but I want to schedule time with you the next 30 days to, and the parking terrace.
Yeah.
I
You
said-
talked about the parking terrace?
I talked about the parking.
Thank you.
So, and he said, so he's willing to, but I just want to have all our ducks lined up before we do it. He's not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to it. We'll see what the church has to say. You want to give an update on what the church?
Yeah, I understand well,
But we do have a condo association meeting set up for the 17th, 16th.
So Ryan Bull
16th of
came back,
February.
met with us, was it last Friday again too?
Yeah.
It was.
I was losing track of time. Anyway, so they've come back and said they've had the property under contract twice now. It's fallen apart twice. Just because
what property are we talking about?
East
East
Temple,
Temple.
right across from the temple, the one that was,
Oh, East Temple.
East
I'm with
Temple.
you. I'm with you.
anyway, they
All
came
their
back and said,
prospects,
what
by
if
the way.
we did more than one venue there? What if we did a government site, a hotel site, a mixed use site, commercial site, retail, whatever? What if we did kind of a mixed use, give you guys a 40,000 square foot footprint, basically
An
pad.
acre.
Yeah, an acre, and then do shared parking with everybody else. You could do parking where we use it in the daytime, the apartments or hotel uses at night. Obviously, I said, take a little work to work through mechanics. I said, come back to us with something solid. We're not dying the wool yet, but we're getting close to it.
Well, I was all for this earlier, but the church, I don't know, they've been pretty hard to deal with. They
Tell me about it.
shafted us over here, they drug their feet over here.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, in my mind, I've kind of settled in the fact this is gonna be the future. And Frank, I'm ready to buy. I just said that to you.
Well, I think that's the future too, but I think we've got the analysis coming back on the parking structure cost, right?
Well, we have a cost, we have a proposal and a cost for that proposal.
Oh,
$9,800 for EDA to take us through an exercise again to look at feasibility for the parking structure.
That's right.
1,900?
98.
9,800.
Well, I thought we approved that. We didn't.
No, we haven't. yeah,
Oh,
we haven't
sorry,
seen that yet.
Well, I think we need to have some solid information on this parking terrace. Because I agree, the way to go is north and east on this terrace. Bring in everybody along Washington, bring in
Yep.
Zions, Thomas, let them participate, bring in your buddies at Ogden City for their 100 stalls that they're committed. So you can have that conversation with them.
But they said roughly to us the other day that we're up to 35,000 a stall. That's just ridiculous.
Construction costs.
That's why I want to have those numbers before I talk to Woodbury.
Yeah. Well, they gave that to us in their proposal.
For the one
Didn't they
going-
give that to us?
Originally,
That's for a building.
yeah.
Yeah, so within their first proposal, they did give us a breakdown. A parking structure is in there, but it's very high level because they didn't know exactly what site they would build on. And as we all know, there
Yeah,
are some.
right, that's how I
issues
understand.
Surface out.
that we may have to work through here. But I spoke with Sam Hammock at EDA this morning. He called. I've got him looking at a bid that we've gotten from IGES, which is, they're the geotechnical scientists that we're gonna need their help. So we have an $80,000 cost estimate for geotechnical work. And we are figuring that we have about a $50,000 bid coming for just drilling. So Sam.
For
EDA
80 and 50.
That's if you go all the way to 23rd Street because. of all
Right,
the
so you're
different-
telling us it's gonna take that to find out where on this site we can even build.
130 to study
I'll
the
give you
site.
all the information of what.
But Sam did say this morning, he said, this is a very good example because the conversation about going west towards Washington a little bit into Thomas's property and going north a little bit towards 23rd, he said I created a footprint or an area where we need the geotechnical guys to look at. Where are they going to do their work? And so they're going to tell us how many drill locations they'll need and how much that will all cost. They need to know their scope, basically. So I prepared a map that shows them the larger scope that goes towards 23rd and onto Thomas's property to the west. The result of that is 80,000 for the analysis and report, the 50 for the drilling. But what Sam said this morning was that larger scope or that larger parking structure that's irregular.
It's right in
He
the middle
said
of the
this is a-
block.
He said this is a really good example why that structure will cost so much more than a square or rectangle structure in the center of the block. So he
Yeah.
said, if we can make it more standard
Okay,
and
well,
less
that's what I'd
irregular,
like to know. I mean,
that's
well,
the guidance we're getting.
I'm not ready to spend 150, but I am ready to spend 98 or 10,000 for them to come back and say, look, we've looked at this. This will be your cost if you go here. Here's your cost if you do something else.
So the level of, the information they're gonna need to give us a really accurate cost estimate for a structure will require that information and data that comes from a
EDA.
geotechnical.
Well, and I
Oh.
Well,
you
I
gotta spend the
understand that.
130 before you spend the 98.
Yeah, we need to dial in
Oh,
exactly. what
well, I
structure's
understand
going
that.
If you're that
For
big,
a final
because you're surveying the whole.
accurate cost estimate, I get it. But I think they could factor in the cost and say, look, in order for us to give you that final cost, we've got to spend another 130 or whatever it is. But here's your value range you're looking at if you go 24th to 23rd, northeast.
So you say you spend $9,800 now, then you get those costs and you spend another 5,000 with EDA, say upgrade this with this numbers or something. Is that what maybe we do?
I think their opinion is that we're not gonna get anything very concrete or a very
So
good
they
estimate.
want
unless
the
we-
130 now?
They want the 130, the information off the 130 before they take the 98.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
We're looking.
But frankly, I think with all the water issues we have on this property, I think we gotta have that before we do anything.
We'd be fools not to do it, but here's the thing.
We gotta
for me.
have it.
I don't want to keep entertaining things like the church and some of these others. Or we are, but I don't want to go down, if we spend that kind of money, we're staying. You know what I'm saying? For me, you know where I want to go. It's not East Temple. It's still over with Market Star. That's where I want to go because the parking continues to be.
Yeah.
And you just heard from, well, they didn't talk about parking today, but you saw what Amco Parking did to you saw that email I sent you. They just about doubled our budget over there for parking at the conference center, mudding.
So Market Star.
They're not even there.
I can say they're not even here to talk to.
Amco says, well, we got one place that can't live without us, and so we'll double their rate.
Yeah, we're the only ones that are using it.
And I hate Amco.
I think the biggest thing that EDA is coming to say is, with the original proposal, is the most cost-effective and efficient and economic way to build to accommodate that amount of stalls is in the center of the upper parking lot.
So let me tell you,
The center of that, okay.
so EDA told us.
And
they
everybody
said-
utilizes around it. You're not cutting into the hill, you're not doing the testing. for the
Yeah,
whole block.
I get that, yeah.
So
They wanna
EDA
build it
said,
up in the
look,
center.
this square is the most
Yeah.
economical to build.
Yeah.
And then they overlaid it on our property and said, okay, where does it fit? And the only place it fit was in the middle.
Right here.
Yes, that's the least.
So,
place that's
That
being
is
used
the
for
most
retail.
economical to build by several $1 million. But who cares almost? I mean, if we're gonna use the block efficiently, we gotta kind of go to the property we have.
Well, I
I don't know.
understand it's gonna be
This
the
gets hard.
cheapest, but is it gonna be the most efficient and effective for helping out this entire block?
No, it
That's-
isn't gonna be. In
That's,
fact, we know, they told us right now, the proposal they showed us early on, they laid it right in the middle of the block and said, there's the cheapest to build.
But out of that 130,000, your buddies over here, Thomas, are gonna
Thomas?
pay a portion of
will they
that.
kick in?
They've got to.
Well, that's
The
how.
whole reason we're doing it, we gotta spend all that money is for them to, on those strips. So
Well,
they're gonna
that's-
have to kiss.
That's why I would like to make sure that we've got buy-in from Zion's all the way down And when I say buy-in, I mean, actually, they need to
Weaver
write,
State, all of them.
they need to write a check for part of that 130.
If we were to,
Because that, we have a solution. Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
No, it's okay.
We've got a solution to go east. But what helps them most is if we go north.
That's right.
And so they should be willing to spend some, and I think that's how we phase it. Look, we think that we've got the best solution for us cost wise. But we think it's better for the city and for these businesses to look to have you have parking on the east side of your building.
They'll have to donate property and they may say, oh, that's our contribution.
Well, they
It's
need,
not enough.
well, we don't even know.
That's
That's what we would need to
Eric owns,
figure out.
Eric owns all that property, so, and he lets all those businesses take a piece, so he's not the one that necessarily needs the property, it's the people that don't have money to bring to the
Well,
table, like. the
Yeah, but he's
State.
leasing it to them or doing something with them. He say, hey, look, you may lose your parking ability. I need you to buy in if you're gonna let him come up with 100 of that 130 or something,
So I agree. It's from an efficiency standpoint, it needs to go north. So we just need to debate whether or not the efficiency is worth the cost. And if everybody else putting in money
Yeah,
can make those match, that's great. But if we're gonna bear a huge multi-million-dollar burden in order to make it more efficient for them, I don't know about that.
no,
You're right, you're
the only
right.
way
You're right.
that we do this is if we sell it because again, I firmly believe it benefits them a lot more than it does us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
They need us more than we need them.
absolutely.
We're giving them an option that'll improve their
Yes.
real estate values. It'll give them a more user-friendly building. They can either buy it or not.
If you think $35,000 a stall is expensive, wait till they get their cost per stall. I mean, when you add the whole thing into it, they could be 50,000 a stall because of what's going on over there. Because it's problematic. They've got to cut into the hill.
Yeah, no,
Well, Eric, when we asked him about this, he come around and said, I don't want to sell my property. He said, I'll allow you to use my property, but in there, I want to be compensated for it, but he said, I don't want to sell it. So I'm not sure quite where that puts us.
He owns.
well,
a
he'd be
little
the
bit
first
of
one to
hill.
talk to you. then.
Well, he owns going up to that little jog too. and cut
Mhm,
across,
he does.
so He owns
It's,
a little more significant than just what's on pavement down below.
that's right.
Yeah, for sure.
so I asked EDA if they would get together internally today and create a list. Look at their proposal again, which was that center block structure, the larger structure that would go north, and prepare a list for us, kind of an order of operations. It may be that we just all need to get together one more time as a group here and talk about it and kind of narrow down exactly what we want to do. So is that okay if we get this order of operations?
Oh, I think that's
We'll-
appropriate.
We'll share that with you and you can give us some direction on how to
Yeah.
proceed from there.
This isn't easy, Gage,
I'll tell you. It
because.
was easy, we'd have had it done a year or two.
Oh, yeah. This, I don't know. You just feel almost like saying, does Ogden City just screw you, that we'll build exactly what we need for ourselves and nothing else.
Yeah, Ogden City will cut their nose off, spite their face. Wouldn't be the first
I
time.
kind of feel like that's where they're at now.
I think that's where we're at for sure.
So basically, we're not meeting for lunches anymore with them. That's all gone away.
We canceled this one, not
Did we?
them. We canceled it because we had something else at the time. We were worried about the French or something. We did. It was
So-
on us.
Isn't that economic analysis tomorrow
Yeah,
at 11?
it is.
Yeah, I don't know about you. I'd like to go to that.
Well, you're registered.
Yeah, I know we are. And I'd like to go to that if we can.
You're in. But it starts at 11.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to hustle through our noon meeting, our 10 o'clock meeting.
Well, we
Is that
pulled
up
the
to
one
our-
public hearing, right?
Yeah. I believe
New
that.
biz, it's at the Ogden Eccles
That's right.
Conference Center.
Yeah, so we just gotta
Yeah,
walk.
that's why
across
we
the street.
canceled it. We canceled with Mayor and Mark because we wanted to go to this
Okay.
this thing. The new biz. We canceled them for this new biz.
Okay. Good.
Yeah,
So back when we met with Chuck, he really likes being in here and he's very appreciative. In fact, he says, if you guys buy the building, you have a place for us. We don't care where we are in the building. We would love to stay here with you. But he understands if he needs to go someplace else too. So, but we do need to figure out, so we have something to go to him and say, hey, you know, we're gonna let you go over here, but this is what it's gonna cost you, because he might choose to try to find another location.
Oh, that's why, I think since my conversations with him, since the third or fourth quarter of last year, he's gone out there and tried, you know, to try to match. He says, well, I can go free anywhere. He, 2 or 3 years
He
ago.
said he could go free.
Yeah, he could, Ogden City's offered me all kinds of space to move the chamber. I can go over there for free. The reason I came here in the first place is because you guys wanted a partnership with the chamber. You know, you wanted to be all inclusive, and I said, we do. We like having the chamber in the building. I think it adds value to you and it adds value to us. There's no problem. Well, I mean, but thing is we're growing. That's all there's to it.
Well, if he's not looking too hard, because there's plenty of space at Lotus. Every time you and I go to those meetings, we walk upstairs, right past several empty
Yeah, I think we need
spots there.
Yeah, now I think
Down on
what's
Keystone?
happening. Yeah,
Yeah, there's plenty of space.
I think
That
now
Lotus building.
what's happening is he doesn't have the same offer and everybody's saying, Chuck, you're gonna have to pay me rent. And he's not gonna, it's gonna hurt his bottom line. That's why he's staying here, because of the deal we've got. And we get two $10,000 sponsorships. That's the value.
And they did, and they are paid up.
They're $10,000 we're getting, well, I don't think I'm getting $10,000 worth.
That's just part of the love that you're getting, feel the love.
Well, that's what Frour pays, just belong to the
Yeah,
chamber.
10,000? Okay,
I don't know what it is, but Great Western pays something.
well, I know we've been members for quite a while. I didn't think it was 10,000.
No, we pay the county, we get advertising at all their events and mentions in Weber County and the
For
love.
the highest level of whatever.
So that's the
membership
highest
is.
level.
Yeah.
Weber County, that's what they give us in exchange for the discounted rent.
Well, and I think that's probably, I'm not saying that we just totally make them toe the line as far as market match what we're paying, but I think they need to pay more than free. And whatever we think that value is worth.
I think right now they're paying $1,200 a month.
Yeah.
for their leases.
So $1,200 a month plus the 2 memberships, but still $1,200 a month for all that space is basically free.
That's basically, so 12, and they've got, let's call it 4,000 feet.
Sure, yeah,
Wow.
$3, isn't it?
yeah. Versus 1921.
Yeah, $3 a foot. The going
Oh,
rate
yeah.
17,
That's right.
so. And I get, he won't find anything that he's happy moving into for under 14 out there.
Right.
And probably 16 or 17. Because he's been spoiled. That's pretty good space he's got now.
Really good
That's-
space.
It's about.
Well, that's why it's,
Like
the
an
space he would move into is worse space than what he's got now. So,
Oh,
yeah.
a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a dungeon over in
It
there.
is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't mind giving him a little break on, because that is a dungeon, but $3 a foot's a little,
Well,
I think we
4
can find a lot of
times,
people at $4 a foot.
But have put a new glass front on that.
Yep.
But other than that, he doesn't have a conference room in there.
Not a big enough one.
so $4 a foot, even if it was 4, we charged him 14, discounted it down to $10 a foot. So his lease went up to $10 a foot. We still want our sponsorships and everything else, but
I'm
that's
okay with that probably.
gonna be $10 a foot to stay.
Okay, we can tell him that.
We can.
10 plus our memberships.
Yeah, 10 plus our memberships but that means we're doing the TIs.
That's correct. We will pay for that because it's our space.
Right.
What do you think, Mr. Chair?
I think you're in the range. $10 sounds a little high. I'd go to 8. But still,
I mean, he wants us to
It's-
rework the whole front half of the damn office to fix his stuff.
We what?
It shouldn't be terribly expensive though.
If we only do one thing, but you gotta move the wall, you
Yeah.
moved all that wall.
Yeah, you're.
oh yeah,
Let's
I agree with Bill. If we put them in that space, they're gonna have to reconfigure most of it.
Just the front portion, just
you're-
to
This
make the
conference room is
Yep.
gonna be the big one, but it's still we'll have to move.
I bet you're still looking
Three
at
offices in a
15,
wall
20
and
grand.
You're
minimum.
right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It'll
Gage.
it'll cost us
Oh.
$20,000.
More than that.
40?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're probably 50, 60 grand. I bet.
Think so.
50,
Oh, yeah.
60?
Probably 50. Really? Oh, yeah, because you're talking drywall, carpet, tile, ceiling, there's a lot of stuff you got.
Well, that drives that cost up a little bit.
That's what I said, just a regular office downstairs, we're just come in and do it, it's $5,000 a piece to finish everything in it. That's so, I mean, yeah, it's gonna be some money.
Boy,
Bill, what was the final?
And we're gonna remove the front. We told them we would keep the original door front, but we'd take the security section out so they could come in there and we'd recarpet.
Yeah, look
everything
real
there,
nice.
Look nicer, open that up when they walk in, there wasn't. What's that?
What was the final cost on the space downstairs?
160.
160? We were just looking at those numbers and it was.
Yeah, they shared that with us earlier today.
yeah,
It is what it is.
it's not cheap.
You can't make it anything else. So do you need a decision there?
Well, we gotta go back to him with
Yeah.
something so that
Got to go back and say, this is what the commission's willing to offer.
if he's willing, if he says, bag it, I'll have to find somewhere else. I'm not paying that. That's kind of why we're here, is we need to figure out.
That's really where it comes
Just so
down
we
to.
can be upfront and real with him. so he can
Square
make a
footage.
Well, I'd go down to $8. But if you two own it, it's 10.
I mean,
It depends on what his TIs are.
yeah, I think if you're spending 50, 60 on TIs, you're gonna, you know,
You're at $8 the way it is. If we're doing TIs, it's 10.
or have him do the TIs. I'm
Or
okay
have
with
him
it if
do-
he does the TIs.
Yeah, I'm at 8 if he does the
Okay.
TIs.
Okay,
They're not gonna do 10.
Well, he's got all these members in his chamber. Let him figure it out.
I'm okay off giving him the option, but if we do the TIs, I'm gonna stay at 10.
Oh, there you go. That answers it right
Okay.
there.
you got it.
$8 if they take it the way it is, $10 if they.
So
have to have it.
his rent just tripled.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna,
He's gonna go crazy.
Well, he, what's his options?
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
realistically, you know, nobody else is gonna make him a deal like that.
Lotus,
I don't, maybe.
that's his options. Go over to Lotus.
What's Lotus charging now?
Oh,
I don't know, but they're just big open areas.
They'll be
They are.
$18.
Yeah, they're gonna be $18, $20 a square foot. so-
Yeah, I say, they won't make a better deal dollar wise. They do, and what does Lotus do for parking?
Yeah,
That's a good question. I don't know. Like, where does Sarah?
they have
park?
that one place that's ours. We paid the $1 million for.
Well, they've
That's
got,
next
that-
to-
On the north or the south side, they
Yeah.
have a little parking lot there and that's it, right?
that's not enough for that entire building.
It shouldn't be. Now, I'd like to know how they're getting around that, or if Ogden City's giving them a special
Yeah.
deal
Well, I can guarantee you.
Oh,
that
that
they're
yeah.
not giving to us.
They're getting a cut right now.
They're getting
Lotus is their
Uncle
baby.
C's.
That's Brandon Cooper's baby.
Yeah, I'd say there's about 30 parking stalls there.
I wanna know that, because I wanna throw that back and say, whoa, hold on, guys. All right,
Oh,
You
they'll-
gotta ask Brandon Cooper that, see what he said.
we'll do
Like
that.
maybe I'll go over there and walk and count those stalls.
I'll bet you there's more than 30. I'll
You
bet
think?
it's 50 or 60.
Yeah, I think there's more than 30. It's a pretty good sized lot, but not over 60.
You know, our lot's sitting there with a fence around it. Dirt.
Yeah, that's our $1 million.
All right, well,
Hey,
we're ready for
here we go.
COVID for Bryan County. You guys done?
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay,
301.
yeah, Brian, you there?
I'm here, commissioners. Thanks for
Okay,
your
bud,
time.
go ahead. We'll turn time over to you.
Well, the good news, I think, is we're starting to see our case growth drop off quite a bit, and the preliminary numbers for this week are suggesting we're plateauing and maybe even starting to decline a little bit with our case numbers. We're up to a total of 70,050 COVID cases. In our health district right now, that's an increase of 3,599 from what I reported to you last week.
Look at that fall.
But as we look at our 7-day average, that's dropped down to 495 new cases a day, which is a decrease of 287 over what I reported last week of 782. Now, there's a few nuances to this data. One, we know fewer people are getting tested, so we've got to take that into consideration. And just The state has increased its testing capacity this week, but we still hear there's some frustration, and people have heard the guidance that if you have symptoms, just to assume that you're positive and follow the isolation without getting a test. So that's part of the decline. There's some other indicators we're watching closely to make sure that we're making good decisions with the data we have, along just with our case numbers, new positive case numbers declining. We're starting to see a decline in our percent of positive tests. That's this next graph here, and watching this orange line, our percent positive is starting to decline. We're watching our syndromic data, which is a report of the hospitalizations, emergency room and clinic use. And that's this graph here, the orange and the teal. And we're seeing some decline in emergency room use for COVID and also outpatient clinic use for COVID. And then as we look at our 7-day average, let me switch this to Weber County real quick. This bottom graph in the bottom left-hand corner, our 7-day and our 14-day average here, we're also seeing a decline in both of those numbers. So, and then the last thing I talked to you about last week was our wastewater data. Let me switch graphs real quick, and I'm going to click on Central Weber wastewater data. And for the last 60 days, just the trend here, as we look at these graphs, this top graph is the water surveillance data. The bottom graph is a comparison of daily new cases. And we can kind of see we're starting to see a decline in that wastewater data as well that follows along with the decline in positive cases that we're seeing pretty closely. I watched Central Weber and I watched the North Davis, since that serves part of Weber County as well. And the North Davis is again showing a similar trend. The last couple of samples have started to decline in those numbers. So
Ryan,
good thing to take from that is where we've at least plateaued and probably started declining in our active cases.
so when you try to draw a correlation with wastewater, is that based on the concentration in it?
They sample the wastewater and measure the amount of genetic material from the virus that they can collect in that wastewater.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, that's good.
As we look at deaths over the last week, that we're only reporting one additional death, which is good news for a total of 388. As we look at hospitalizations, we're seeing on the same trend as reported last week, an increase in the use of hospital beds for non-ICU patients, but ICU is staying steady. And so again, a good indicator that with the Omicron variants, hospitalization burden is less severe, but we are still seeing more people hospitalized. This week, we're reporting 29 of the 30 available ICU beds being used. That's 97% occupancy. 60% of the regular hospital beds being used, non-ICU, I should say. That's 275 out of 455. And we have 97 total hospitalization or total hospitalizations, but only 10 of those today are COVID related in the ICU. So we're good. I think a good trend on the hospital from what we've experienced in the past as well, especially with the ICU beds. Let's see, going to schools, some good things to report on the schools as well. We have 413 active cases in schools right now. Most of those are in the Weber School District. Ogden School District did a virtual pause for all of their schools. And I think that was a good move for them because they're coming back and they're not reporting any schools halfway to the test to stay threshold or close to the test to stay threshold. So I think it was a wise decision to help control some of the outbreaks they were experiencing in their schools. In Weber School District, we're seeing almost every school impacted with positive cases right now, and 11 of them are at least halfway to their threshold. Of those 11, they're mostly high school and junior high students that are there. We have 413 active cases in our schools right now, which is an increase of about 50 over what I reported last week. 324 of those are in students, 9 of them in staff, and 80 of the others just haven't been identified yet if they're staff or other volunteers or people working with the schools. But overall, the school picture is looking better than what we've seen for the last few weeks as well. So kind of good report there. We've asked 1,515 students to quarantine right now from exposures in schools. So let's see, vaccination wise, not a whole lot to report there. Still kind of a steady growth of just about a 1% uptake or new people being vaccinated over the last week, and it's spread pretty evenly across the 40 and younger age demographics that are eligible for those vaccinations. So I think that's what I have to report today. So overall, I think in a quick summary, we're in a good spot with seeing a decrease in our disease growth. Confident that there's been a big decrease in our disease growth, and we have started to plateau and maybe even started to decline with our case numbers in our area. With that,
That's a great report. Questions, commissioners?
Going the right way, it looks like, Brian.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Headed the right direction.
Yes, sir.
So Brian, the other day I was listening to something and they were talking about the long term of COVID. And basically the guys who were talking about it said, they thought this would end up just like the traditional flu shots we get that they'll just eventually be molded in and COVID will be out there just like everything else is every year. Is that the way you see it?
Yeah, I'm starting to feel that way myself, that the endemic response to COVID, I think we'll see a transition over the rest of this year to where we bring it in the way we react here at the health department, similar to how we react to the yearly influenza growth. So we'll monitor it, we'll report case numbers, we'll offer the vaccinations, but I do think we're well on the road for it just becoming part of our normal life. Yep. Just like influenza.
Yeah.
Sure, I have one. Yeah.
We had the original, then we had Delta, then we had Omicron. Is there another variant that's on its way? And undoubtedly, in my mind, I'm thinking these variants are gonna continue to come and pour out on us every so often.
It's a natural progression of viruses. They change and adjust and evolve, like many other organisms do. And there are other variants besides the original virus, the Delta and the Omicron variant. There's a new sub-Omicron variant labeled the BA2 variant that we're watching closely. And that's one of our yearly struggles with influenza. Influenza is very, very changeable and adaptable. And that's why it keeps coming back at the prevalence it does every year. And at different rates that we see from year to year. And I certainly think there's the potential for the coronavirus to do that as well. But how those variants adjust and how they'll impact us with the disease burden, that's really what the unknown is. So we just need to continue to learn and explore and adjust accordingly, I guess.
Sure. Thank you.
Yep. Commissioners, I have one more item I'd like to bring to your attention while I've got you for a minute.
Go ahead.
We're looking to fill some additional appointments on our Board of Health. We've had a member resign that was occupying our Weber County citizen at large position. And we've had a member of our community by the name of Lee Schussman reach out and talk to us with an interest in participating in our Board of Health. He comes with a very good resume and a lot of relatable experience. We've sent that information over to you to share with you. And it's our intent that we ask it in a future commission meeting in the next over the next couple of weeks that we get approval for his appointment. So if you would look at the information we've sent you, and if you have any questions, we'd be happy to ask you or answer those if you reach out. But just
Have there
wanted
been
to
any other candidates reach out or any other potential candidates?
You know, Gage told me about this, and I've been trying to get hold of Lisa Wayman. She's a nurse that's retired, and she said she'd be glad to serve last time. But last time it just didn't work out. We'd already taken this other move. So we put this other guy on. And I told her if I come back around, I'd get hold of her, but I just haven't been able to reach her. So I'd like a reprieve here for a couple of days to try to get hold of her.
Sure. And for me,
Brian, you're not gonna try to bring those until next week, are you?
No, and you know, I'm more than happy to work along a timeline that you feel is appropriate.
I don't think it's a big rush.
Okay, well, I should know in the next couple of days.
Yeah, since she had an interest before,
Right.
I'd like to,
then we can evaluate all the names and where they're,
yeah.
where what might be the best fit for.
Well, and Lisa, she was an emergency room nurse for a lot of years. She's very qualified for
Yeah.
a job like this. All right, good, Brian.
Thanks, commissioners. I appreciate your time.
What a
Thank
great,
you.
great report. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Yep. Take care.
You bet. Oh, Brian, oh, he's gone.
Brian?
I'm still here.
Are you? Well, I see Tim Vandernack on here. Tim, do you have any questions for Brian?
Hey there, thanks. Yeah, so
Hey,
Brian.
wow, boy, I'll tell you what, he makes Fabio look like a,
Look at that.
wow, what a good looking fella.
wow, you're too nice.
Good haircut too.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, I jumped in here late. No, I guess, yeah, just sorry about that. Thanks for letting me.
It's okay.
But just curious about the highlights of, I guess, your report, Brian, if you're still there.
Yeah, Tim, our highlights, I think this week are that we've seen a decline in the growth rate of the coronavirus in our area. So our 7-day average has started to come down. As we're watching our wastewater data, we're also seeing starting to trend down. So I think we're comfortable saying we've at least plateaued on our disease growth and probably entering into a downward trend.
Okay. Okay.
What about schools? Tell them about schools.
Schools, we're also starting to see a downward trend in the cases in our schools. Ogden School District did a few days of virtual, and that has really helped them with their case numbers at their schools. So low rates, they don't have any schools currently even halfway to their threshold. Weaver School District is still experiencing a number of cases in their schools, and they have about schools, high schools and junior highs, they're about midway to the test to stay threshold right now. But none of them that are at that threshold yet, the 2% threshold.
And how are the hospitals managing?
Hospitals, we're still seeing kind of a trend, steady in numbers, decreasing a little bit in ICU use, but other hospitalizations are staying consistent with the numbers we've seen the last two to 3 weeks.
Okay, but yeah, like last week, you say you are comfortable in saying we've plateaued and we're entering a downward trend.
Yeah, I think with all the data that we're monitoring, we're comfortable saying that. A little bit hesitant to rely just on case numbers for that, because we know the guidance has gone out for some people to people not to test if they're symptomatic. So.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And I just noticed that the numbers for January on your website are like something like 18,000 cases, which is up from like 3,000 in December. So, wow, that really does show that Omicron really did cause things to spike, looks like.
It's caused the data nerd in me to get a little excited. I have a hard time saying that I'm excited about it, but it's been really interesting to watch how fast an infectious organism can spread through our community and see the impact that it can have.
Okay. And then finally, one other thing, I asked Lori Butters about this, but are you seeing people asking to get their second booster, their fourth shot? Is anybody out there?
We are getting questions about a fourth booster shot, but the guidance, there isn't any official guidance for the general population to get a fourth dose or, a second booster shot. There is some guidance for people that are immunocompromised to consult with their healthcare professional and see if that's appropriate for them. But at this time, not the second boost shot or a fourth dose is not available for the general public.
Okay. Well, thank you,
Yep.
Commissioner.
Thanks, Tim.
Good to see you.
You too.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, commissioners. Take care.
You bet.
And I
Well,
may,
so-
I may call back later and ask about that 12th Street stuff, which I missed. I saw that speeding or something on 12th Street was a topic. We're trying to-
Well, so they just want to see if we could change the speed limit. And without going into a survey, we can't do that. But the problem is if you take that survey, you might actually take the speed limit up, not down. And so you got to be careful about what you survey, right?
Okay.
Traffic study.
Yeah, traffic studies. So Commissioner Ford is going to talk to the sheriff and see if we can't get a little more surveillance out there.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you.
Thanks, Timmy.
Thanks, Tim.
Later. Bye-bye.
Hey, Tim, one last thing.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of a feel-good thing, but Bechtel is one of the top manufacturing companies in the world. They build things like Daybreak, or they build like the oil refinery in down there in Bountiful, North Salt Lake. They build these huge complexes around the world. They're a global, one of the world's most largest global manufacturing building companies, contractors in the world. They just gave an award recently to Peterson Inc. as their outstanding subcontractor. And so we're going to have tomorrow a proclamation honoring Peterson Inc. And their employees for getting the subcontractor of the year for a global company. That speaks very well to what they do.
Peterson, they're Weber County company?
Peterson Inc.'s out there in Far West. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Peterson Inc.
I saw that on the.
S-E-N, P-E-T-E-R-S-E-N.
Okay.
Peterson Inc. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll watch that.
That's just, it's a little piece of good news. A lot of, in the construction world, that's a huge deal.
That's big.
Huge deal.
Okay. All
So,
right. I will.
Hey, Tim. Thank you.
See you guys.
Thanks. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
So, Commissioner Ford, you got anything else?
No, I think we're good.
Commissioner Harvey? So I just have one thing I want to make sure of. I ran this by you, but I just not sure I made it for certain. And so basically, in the end, I wanted to put John Watson's job out to be filled, and I think we all agreed that was okay. Is that all right?
With the idea that he sticks around as a consultant.
For 6 months?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
No,
I just want to make sure I covered that.
I'm good with that.
Okay, Roxanne.
Are they gonna do that right now?
March.
Okay.
Yeah.
They'll put the job out in March. I'd say accelerate that, put it out in February, give a little more time to find the suitable applicant.
Well, it gives us April, May, and June.
Yeah, but if you interview a guy by the time March gets away, you interview a guy in April, you select him the end of April. He gives his company notice, these 2 or 3 weeks and finds a house. You're into May, almost the end of May. You're only gonna have June by the time he's here. That's not much time for. I'm just
Plenty of
saying.
time.
Okay, it's your portfolio.
You bet.
I'm just pushing you.
You are. All right, that's all I got.
Thanks for letting me blow out all that wind.
That's okay.
Yeah,
So,
we got a little bit that, down here, so.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we're adjourned.
so we're gonna try to keep that meeting